Good news for those looking forward to Starfield, as well as Starfield reviews. In a bit of a back and forth on Twitter, we now have reliable info about when review copies will go out, and also we have a likely review embargo date. This is actually right around the corner, which I find to be encouraging and good news. Now, we're going to wait to exactly see who got codes, what's the overall consensus. I do want to talk about, though, why I find this to be encouraging. I had been saying I wanted review outlets to get their hands on the game early enough to have a good amount of time with the game. There were also tweets and comments circulating about predictions about Starfield's Metacritic score. I want to give my thoughts on that as well and speak as to why the Metacritic user score will not matter for this game. Going to give you my thoughts and opinions on that. Now, I put all of the good information right here at the beginning of the video, so you don't have to go looking for it. It's a live stream. Once the monologue's over, I then discuss it with the live audience. So make sure you hit subscribe and the bell button so you don't miss these live shows. So while the general public continues to wait to get their hands on Starfield, it seems that review outlets will have the game very soon. And this is great news for anybody looking forward to the game. Obviously, we could still end up in a situation where only a select few outlets are sent the game. I hope the time given for the gameplay and the impending review embargo leads to a very accurate picture and representation of the game. First, I want to look at what transpired on Twitter. We had some bad information, some clarification, and then an insider chimed in. Second, I want to discuss the review window and the outlets who get access. We could certainly end up in another Redfall situation. I don't think Starfield's going to be anywhere near the low quality of Redfall, but we could certainly be facing a PR brigade when only a few outlets get codes. We don't know who has them yet. I'm hoping for a wide breadth. Last, I do want to speak about the Metacritic predictions that are floating around. A lot of people are weighing in about how the game will land. I want to throw out my own prediction, but I also want to speak about the level of scrutiny and expectations that this game is facing. So first, let's just recap exactly what happened on Twitter and why this led to information that we now have about the review codes for Starfield. So there was some information about review keys going out that was a bit concerning. When we first saw this, it was a little alarming. Games Inquirer tweeted and said review keys go out on the 1st of September. And if that date looks familiar, it's because that's the earliest day that you can play Starfield. If you pre-order the premium edition, or if you have Game Pass and you pay for the premium edition upgrade, you can play 5 days early, and that is September the 1st. So obviously, this date being put out there by Games Inquirer was a bit strange, but also alarming. Review outlets getting the game the same day that early access starts doesn't make a whole lot of sense, and it certainly would mean that reviews could not be anywhere near accurate about the game's quality. Like, they wouldn't have any time to play it and put a review out. They'd be playing along with the rest of us. So 5 days with the game just wouldn't be enough time before the official launch either, even if you said, oh, well, you know, they can play it and then get a review out before the full launch. Like, that's a very short window. So, but you'll notice that Jez Corden corrected the information. Well, he didn't correct it. He just chimed in and said, this is false, okay? He's like, this is not true. Now, when these types of things happen on Twitter, as they are prone to do, they sort of progressed. And when pressed on this, it became clear that Games Inquirer was basing their information off of the Keymailer website. If you're not familiar with it, content creators can create an account with Keymailer and then apply for codes for games. You basically connect your YouTube channel, your Twitch channel, or whatever to Keymailer, and then they see how big you are, and then they may or may not give you a code. I get code offers on there all the time saying, hey, do you want to check our game out? Now, typically, those codes come with NDAs and embargo dates. Like, you agree to that before they give you the code. Hey, I won't post anything before such and such a time. Now, YouTubers of larger size typically have their own contacts or even an agent who handles codes and early access. Press outlets, in a similar fashion, typically have a contact at the publisher or the developer, and they just say, hey, when are the codes going out? And then they have somebody, a point person or a company, handling the distribution of those codes. Now, Jez and I have spoken privately. He said he can't say any more than he already has. I wasn't pressing him for information, but we were just speaking about it privately because I basically took up for him. I was like, I'm pretty sure he's on the mark here. Sending out review codes on the day of early access doesn't really make any sense. Now, Tommy Hendy, good old Tom Henderson, was here to rescue us. He simply replied to the thread and said they go out later this week. So it's August the 16th. This transpired about 2 days ago. So the consensus is thinking that, oh, it's going to go out sometime this week. They're going to have it in their hands for, starting this weekend. Now, given how reliable Tom Henderson has been of late, I think we can take this claim to the bank, especially considering he was kind of chiming in because Jez is like, that's false. That's not when the keys go out. And then Tommy gets involved and says, hey, they're going out this week. Now, I do wonder if all the people who have given Tom Henderson grief about the PlayStation Q Lite and the PS5 Pro, are they suddenly grateful for his inside information about Starfield, right? Some of the Xbox guys have been kind of harsh to good old Tommy boy because it's like they don't like the fact that he's out here talking about the Pro and the Q Lite, and he's just giving you information. That's all he's doing, okay? Needless to say, I find this time frame to be very encouraging, okay? Let's talk about why first. Before we talk about review window and outlets, why do I find this encouraging? Well, when we talk about the review window first, I want to say that this is a great window for a game like Starfield. Obviously, the longer the better, but we have to be reasonable. A playable version of the game being given to the press 2 weeks prior to early access is a nice chunk of time. It's almost 3 entire weeks before the full launch of the game. Baldur's Gate 3, by comparison, only went out 1 week before the game officially launched on PC. Now, it's slightly different given how Baldur's Gate 3 was in early access for such a long time, but still, Baldur's Gate 3 was a massive game, and only having 6 days to play before they could put out their reviews, many of the reviews were sort of in progress. 2 weeks prior to early access, basically 2.5 to 3 weeks prior to the full release of the game, that's a nice chunk of time for press outlets and YouTubers to dive in to Starfield. This should be enough time for them to test the systems, maybe even beeline the main story. It's been said that the main story will take 30 to 40 hours to complete if you spread that out over 14 days. So if they try to get the story done before September the 1st, I think that's probably when the embargo will be. There's no reason to have the embargo after that because the public will be able to see the game at that point. So that's 14 days, right? If you spread the 30 to 40 hours across that, that's roughly 3 hours a day. And the people who get these codes likely will be playing longer than that each day. Many of these people, that's their job. They'll be putting in 5 and 6 hours a day, I would imagine, into a game like this. That's a lot of play time. That means some people can complete the story. They can test out all sorts of systems in the game. So I have nothing to say about the length of time that the outlets have been given, right? I'm a live streamer, so I would obviously be in a different situation. If I was given a code, wink, wink, anybody that wants to be, really cool with me and send me a code, that'd be amazing. But I would spend as much time as I could with the game, but I probably would not be able to finish the story because with how much time I dedicate to writing my monologues and doing uploads and getting everything ready for the next day, I would have to play this in the evenings, maybe 2 hours a night. So I would try to substantively explore all of the major aspects of the game, and that's just as a live streamer. I feel like even with my limited time, I could give this game a ton of treatment for a review. So the outlets that get their hands on this will likely have sufficient amount of time to do a very good review. But the second thing I want to talk about here is I really hope a wide array of outlets get codes. And I've been saying this from the beginning, okay? I'm not talking about myself. I understand I'm not a very big YouTuber. I only just recently, for the first time, got early access to one of the bigger games that came out this year with Atlas Fallen. That was amazing. That's just not really my lane. I don't have the pull. When you have 50 to 100,000 subscribers, you can kind of throw your hat in the ring and you'll probably just get a code by default. That's not even really my main draw. My main draw is doing a talk show and interacting with people, not really reviews. It's not really what I'm known for. So major outlets, however, I think like Eurogamer, Game Informer, IGN, PC Gamer, even really big YouTubers. I was really hoping somebody like SkillUp would get a code. Word through the grapevine is he didn't get one, okay? That would be a huge boost of confidence for me and many others to see a wide array of outlets and YouTubers getting access to this game from these early stages, because let's be honest, I'm not throwing shade here. We know this to be true. Pro Xbox outlets are going to love this game, okay? It's going to speak a whole lot stronger to the game's quality if everybody gets access and is praising it, because as I said, we do not want another Redfall situation. The speculation is that the review embargo is on September the 1st. It'd be nice if it was a little bit before that, okay? I think it seems logical to do it on September the 1st. That has a nice ring to it. It's a Friday. That's the day early access starts. And you could look at this one of two ways. If you want to look at this negatively, let's say it lands on September the 1st, you could say, well, they want to get everybody pre-ordering the premium upgrade before they see reviews. I don't think that that's necessarily true or fair, because think about it. You don't have to do that. If the review embargo date lands on September the 1st, you could literally, on September the 1st, spend your morning reading, watching, maybe it's in the afternoon, I don't know what time of day, probably in the morning since that's when everybody's going to be playing. So, 8 in the morning or something like that, maybe even at midnight, I'm not sure, because if people can boot up and play at midnight, then the review embargo would likely drop then. That means you could spend a good chunk of September the 1st reading and watching reviews before paying for the premium upgrade so that you could play on September the 1st. No one's forcing you to pre-order the game right now. Do not fall for a false sense of urgency. You can totally wait. I don't think anything scummy is going on here as long as plenty of outlets get their hands on it. If we see sort of the same actors that got Redfall access and talked about how great that was, and it's kind of contained and kept small, then obviously that's a cause for concern. If we see a smattering across a very broad spectrum and they're all giving it good scores, then charge full steam ahead and get your premium access and play through the weekend. My gut tells me September the 1st is a great day. They can do full court press marketing, let the early looks, let the gameplay, let the press coverage just ride that over the weekend. That would boost interest, potentially boost sales of the early access edition, premium edition. So again, from where I sit, this is all good news as long as we see a wide array of outlets get their hands on the review codes, okay? I think that will sort of lead to the debate about Metacritic, okay? We already know this is coming. Everyone's going to debate the Metacritic scores. They're going to try to dunk on Starfield. If Starfield does well, they're going to claim that there's bias. It's just a whole thing, all right? So let's talk about the Metacritic predictions. So they're already swirling, and they're ranging from the high 90s to the low 80s, all right? I'm not really seeing anybody putting this game in the 70s or lower in their predictions unless they're just sort of hating. So generally speaking, the people that I follow and the people that I interact with, most of them are putting this thing in the low 90s to high 80s. I'm sorry, the low 80s to high 90s. So pretty broad spectrum. There are people that think that this thing's just going to get, amazing scores. Scoring higher than Baldur's Gate 3 is going to be an absolute task. I don't know if that's going to happen. After the treatment, I do want to say, after the treatment some of the outlets gave Redfall, I fully expect many of the pro Xbox platforms to just give this game a 10 out of 10. Without question, we're going to see 9.5s and 10s purely from platform allegiance, okay? That's kind of a given at this point. I'm not complaining about that. I'm not criticizing it, okay? That's just the world that we live in. Just accept it. There are going to be really pro PlayStation outlets that do this with PlayStation titles, and there are going to be really pro Xbox outlets that do it with really big titles like Starfield. That's why the best thing to do is pull from a large variety of sources. Anytime I've done preview or review roundups, I try to grab a wide breadth because I feel it gives us the most accurate picture. There's not always a guarantee that that works. However, we saw that happen with Jedi Survivor. It got glowing scores from everybody, and that game runs like garbage, and they still haven't fixed any of the issues on console. So shame on all of the outlets that gave that game such ridiculous and undeserved scores. You are an embarrassment. At the very least, maybe go back and update your score in your review. It's been 100 days, have some integrity, take them to task, hold them accountable instead of giving them 9s and 10s on a game that many people wish they could get a refund on because of how poorly it runs. So when it comes to Starfield Metacritic score, though, personally, I see it landing in the high 80s, okay? And to me, that would be a huge achievement. Getting like an 88 or an 89 will communicate to me that the game delivered. If you've got this wide array of people reviewing this game, and it lands in the 88, 89 range, I'm telling you, that's a win in my book. That will actually be very impressive. Well, why? Well, I feel this game will receive an extra amount of scrutiny and an extra amount of expectations. Many are going to judge it against the backdrop of where Xbox is currently. They sort of see this as the savior of Xbox. That's not Starfield's responsibility. That's not Bethesda's job, okay? Their job is to make a great space RPG. And high 80s or even low 90s, like if it gets like a 90 or a 91, if that's Metacritic, if that's OpenCritic, if that's where it sort of lands, that to me is a very strong score, okay? I will say we can completely ignore user scores on Metacritic for Starfield, okay? It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be console tribalist fools wasting their energy and downvoting the game. There's no reason to go to the user scores on Metacritic. If you want an accurate depiction of this game's quality and how it's running, go to the Steam user scores in the first 24 to 48 hours, okay? They give you a very accurate depiction of how good a game is. Go look at Redfall's score. Go look at Jedi Survivor's score. Even Jedi Survivor's score has edged up because they have fixed some of the main issues on PC. Consoles kind of getting left out to dry there, but don't bother. If anybody starts screenshotting the user score of Metacritic for Starfield, I'm going to laugh at you, okay? That's a joke and you know it. That's just going to be a bunch of console tribalism, review bombing, because listen, at one level, I get it. People are mad. Yeah, the game did, past Bethesda games did great on PlayStation. PlayStation's not getting this game. It's highly anticipated. But there's no excuse for that. Don't go review bomb. Like, I don't know. Act older than a 10-year-old. So, lastly, I want to talk about where I hope the game lands review-wise, okay? Because I think a lot of the times people are looking at this and they think anything under a 9.5 or a 10 is just bad. There was that clip of Xbox era saying that, and like they gave a really high score to Redfall. So, I mean, take that for what it's worth. My hope is that a large amount of the more neutral outlets give Starfield an 8.5 or a 9. That's what I'm hoping for. Anything above that would be surprising for a few reasons. First, I think games of this scope are tough to review, not just because they're so big, but because everybody's experience will vary. The more freedom you give, the more potential for frustration or a bad experience. On the flip side, you can have an amazing experience. So that's why if I see a very wide breadth of neutral outlets landing in 8.5 or 9, I'm like, that's a good game, because a game of this size, a game of this scope, all the different permutations of experiences that you can have, if they nail that and get good, consistent scores, that's an achievement. The second reason I think that this game is going to struggle with some of its reviews is because it's going up against the backdrop of the past. This happens with reviews all of the time. Now, is that fair? Well, yes, it is fair, but sometimes no, it's not fair, all right? Examples of when it's fair. Cyberpunk was judged against the backdrop of CD Projekt Red's strong history, all right? Anthem was judged against the history of strong RPG story-driven BioWare games. And the thing to remember is that both BioWare and CD Projekt Red had rough game launches in their past. The Witcher 3 had a lot of bugs at launch that had to be addressed. Now, what saved that game was there was a wonderful game underneath those bugs and glitches. The Witcher 3 is celebrated as one of the better RPGs of our time. Mass Effect Andromeda was ruthlessly mocked, and it led to some great memes, okay? So Bethesda's in a similar situation. Some will quickly run to Fallout 76 and say, Bethesda's likely going to launch another bad game. They ignore how much Fallout 76 has been improved. But on the flip side, Many see Skyrim and the older Fallouts as almost monolithic in the RPG world. So all of this is sort of floating around inside the brains and the expectations of people reviewing Starfield, making this, I think, a tough game to have high scores. Anything above a 9, I think, is going to be very difficult for Starfield. That's why I want to see the game land in an 8.5 or a 9 from most outlets. I think that is excellence for Starfield, given where it is, given Bethesda's history, given just the insane amount of expectations and scrutiny that are being heaped on this game. If you manage to pull out an 8.5 or 9, I think that's excellent. I think that's impressive. And we need to be honest about something, okay? 8s and 9s are great scores for a game of this size. So much can go wrong. So much can bother the player or make it unenjoyable because there's so many systems and so many elements to the game. There's so many different expectations. Somebody might really want to play the game and invest heavily in shooting, space travel, their ship, being a pirate, okay? And if any of those things don't go quite well, that's going to make them take points away. At the end of the day, I have done roughly 50 live shows about Starfield. I have 8 individual uploads about it. So even as a live streamer, I've done roughly 50 live shows. I've even done 8 uploads about it, okay? The lion's share of the videos that I have made about this have been positive. They've been made in anticipation for this game. Those rooting for this game's failure are not justified in their position, okay? I can understand why somebody feels that way. Fallout 4 had a greater percentage of consumers buying it and playing it on the PlayStation platform. So not having access to Bethesda's next big title, listen, I get it. I get that you're frustrated. It makes perfectly good sense. There's nothing wrong with being frustrated or angry or disappointed. Those are valid responses to not getting something that could be great, okay? Just because I understand your frustration, I don't agree with cheering for the game's downfall. I don't agree with the folks who do this. I want Starfield to be great. First, for the sake of Bethesda and all of the devs who have poured years of their life into this game. Secondly, I want it to be great for Xbox. They really need a win right now. But lastly, and most importantly, I want Starfield to be great for the gamers who play it. That's what this is all about at the end of the day. And while it is frustrating that the nature of this business necessitates exclusivity deals, the games, the devs, and the gamers, they don't benefit when a game fails. So even if you can't play the game, if Starfield adds to the list of great games in 2023, then we all win. Let me give you my thoughts and my conclusions. Okay, so while main concerns that I have still about the performance of Starfield will likely not be answered until I have my own hands on the game, right? Like Jedi Survivor got glowing reviews, runs like dog water, okay, on my PS5. It's got bad performance, spectrums on both Series X and PS5, and so the reviews didn't matter in that realm. So my concerns about performance won't really be answered until I can play this game myself on my own PC. Now, I find the review code distribution info to be very encouraging, as long as the embargo lands on or before early access. I don't see why they wouldn't let them do it on the day of at least early access, okay, because everybody can play it then, stream it, and upload videos. My only lingering concern then would be the number of outlets who actually get review codes. It would be amazing if Digital Foundry gets a code, and then we can have a really great, lengthy, substantive breakdown before the game's official launch. I'm not going to hold my breath. I'm not going to hold my breath on Digital Foundry getting a code, because I do think this game's going to have enough performance issues that they don't want that video to be out there. They're going to want that to come later. They want this first week to just be nothing but hype. I'm not accusing them of anything. I'm not going to hold my breath. If Digital Foundry gets the game early and they get to drop a substantive review on early access day, I'm going to feel very good. That shows confidence in the game. Now, the second thing I want to say is this. While many are taking to Twitter to preemptively fight or make predictions about Metacritic scores or media bias, I just hope that we get a good game. And yes, a wide array of outlets getting the game early and giving it good scores will be some indication of that. That's not the be-all, end-all of the matter, though. The real test will be once the consumer base at large has their hands on the game. Once Steam reviews start pouring in, that's when we'll really know how did this game turn out. So my conclusion is this. I wish Starfield was a lightning rod game for all of the right reasons. Sadly, a lot of the reasons that this is a hotly discussed game is due to console warring and tribalism, which at so many levels is just not fair to Bethesda or the work that they put in to this game. My expectation is that once the dust settles and the hardcore PlayStation fans move on, and they're distracted by Spider-Man 2, right? We can, I think, estimate that we'll be talking about Starfield for years to come. Will it have bugs and problems? Yeah, probably. I don't doubt that. A game of this size and scope and the engine, we know it's going to have rough edges. That's not really the question. It's likely, I think, another watershed moment for Bethesda. And given how some games do need fixed over time, hopefully that's something that we can celebrate sooner rather than later. And that's the show open, guys. Good news for fans of Starfield. I mean, these review codes should be going out this week, which means these outlets, these YouTubers are going to have a good amount of time with the game. That's something that I was really, really hoping would happen. It's I don't want to have real short review windows or just a couple of outlets. Really, really big turnout today. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't seen my past Starfield coverage, today is right in line with everything I've always said. I'm very much looking forward to the game. My primary concerns have always been about performance. I don't doubt Bethesda's RPG chops. So make sure you're smashing the like button. There's over 800 people here, so take the time to do that. It really helps the video if you just take a second to smash that like button. Consider ordering some Reforge Roast. Yes, we have our own coffee, Reforge Gaming property, Reforge Roast. It's in my house. My wife and kiddos bag that up and ship it to you. And if you've never tried coffee with balanced acidity, be sure to try out Reforge Roast Dark Roast. The light roast invoice just came, so we should have that soon. And let's start the member goal. Every 25, I gift 5 back to the community, and DK Bager has started us off with the first one. Thank you guys so much. Somebody requested a stretch goal. If you guys hit 4,500 members, my wife and I have to play Mortal Kombat. You did hit 4,000, so we have to shop for a Jar Jar outfit for a Beat Saber stream. So, what do you guys think? Are you encouraged by this news about the reviews and about the review outlet codes? Dude with a drum set with 8 months and a Member Plus membership. Happy Wednesday, Lono. Buy the coffee, people. Thank you so much. Dude with the drum set. Joker Quinn, always in there tag teaming with DK Bager on these single gifted members. And Lorenzo Carson jumps in as well and gifts a member. Guys, single member trains are so strong. We don't need to wait for the big boys to drop the 20 bombs. You can make a 20 bomb if you all work together. Thank you so much for that real quick member train you guys started. Metacritic for user scores really need to have people link their Steam, PSN, or Xbox accounts to prove they have the game. I don't get why they haven't done that, Dave. I do not understand. Listen, Metacritic, what's the point in the user score? Why? It's become null and void because you just let idiots go in there and console war. You just let angry men go in there and rip a game up because of story decisions. That's not what Metacritic's user score should be for. Come on. Not every game launches on Steam. I would really, really like it if an Xbox first-party title or a PlayStation first-party title, if I could get accurate reviews from Metacritic. I want to know, is this somebody who even has a PlayStation? Is this somebody who even has an Xbox? No? Well, then shut the frick up. Your review doesn't matter. Dude with the drum set, he adds to the gifted member train. 4 already on the day. Thank you so much for doing that. If you guys get a gifted membership, make sure and say thank you to the person that did it and maybe consider paying it forward. Proof of purchase should be required to review anything, anywhere. Remember, Lono, no matter how the reviews pan out, you can always roleplay RPG IRL with that digital watch. I'm planning to use it in work meetings. That's right. That's right. It's just, it doesn't serve me any good. Let's fast forward to, Hellblade 2. Does it do me any good to have Hellblade 2 getting zeros from angry PlayStation fans? That doesn't do me any good. When Spider-Man 2 launches, does it help me as a consumer to have a bunch of angry Xbox fans giving it a 0? Come on. It doesn't. It's completely pointless. The fact that Metacritic hasn't resolved that issue, I just feel like their platform has become an embarrassment. It's Yeah, go read the user reviews. But Eugene, once the user reviews get into the thousands, it's like, I'm not going to comb through all that. I love going to Steam and instantly knowing, what do people think about a game they actually bought and played? What's the general consensus? Now, sure, a bunch of people could go buy the game and then review bomb it and play for 2 minutes, but that's incredibly rare on Steam. A $5 super chat tip from I Steal Popular Names for Likes says, Matt Booty's line about Starfield being their least buggy game is going to be put to the ultimate test. Hope to God the game doesn't have destructive bugs. Extra Life, Co-Carnage are probably the only ones I listen to on review, says Casual Grinder. Eugene says, you'll find the good ones if you read them. Yeah, but that's not... Okay, so it defeats the entire purpose of saying... Here's the consensus. Here's the average from the user scores. If a huge percentage of the people in the user score number haven't even played the game, why would they make a change? The current system drives views on their website. I mean, I never even considered that. I have to push this button on my camera. Give me 1 second. It's gonna keep doing this glow thing. If I don't lock in the white balance, I'm suddenly glowing like Edward Cullen from Twilight. It's like, what the frick is going on? Because the white balance doesn't know what to do with my pale skin. One person bringing 100 bots is 100 ad impressions. Now, I never considered the fact that Metacritic benefits from all this stupid nonsense. Like, everybody goes to the site, everybody goes to screenshot, right? Bring up close, love it. Did I miss anybody's memberships or anything? I'm Raymond Lermont. Raymond with a 4-month renewal on the membership. Thank you for doing that very early in the stream. But what about the space coffee? Will it be as good as Reforge Roast? You'll have to do a taste test. I don't know. You'll have to buy some Reforge Roast and see. Push buttons on your own time, streamer. You're on our time now. Yeah, I forgot to do that. I've been in a good habit of making sure all that stuff's done. It's just adding the Kick stream is a little bit of extra work. If you guys are enjoying the stream over there on Kick, make sure and hit follow. Consider becoming a subscriber over there. We get a better split over there. That's just an extra way to support. We do primarily prefer you to be a member on YouTube, though. Of course, they benefit from it, which is exactly why it should be stopped, says Creature. I just come to YouTube and nowhere else. PlayStation and Xbox should have a game rating of their own. I would actually love that. I would love to be able to just go to the Xbox store or the PlayStation store and see, like, okay, what are people giving this? You know, you've played Starfield for half of a day. What'd you give it? What's the average user giving it? Ad revenue promotes poor faith reviewing. Patrick Q with the layup. He sets us up to 5. Sometimes the big boys come in here and steal the thunder and drop 20 bombs. We'll see if there's any of them lurking in the shadows today. They've been bringing the heat lately. As a former market researcher, Bethesda have done the same system of review, production, release since Morrowind. However, testing this time did not use third-party playtesting, which was different. Do you think that that's more concerning, or were they just trying to keep things under wraps? Like they did internal testing instead of third-party play testing? Given the size and scope and reach of this game, were they concerned about people, leaking stuff, way ahead of time, especially with how much they probably had to smooth out some of the rough edges? They don't want some third-party company leaking bad footage to the public. Yo, what's good, Feed? I see you in the chat. Xbox has a rating. PlayStation has likes. Joker Quinn gifts a member. He steals the thunder from anybody trying to do a 20 bomb. Thank you so much for doing that, Joker Quinn. It goes to Mayhem Games. Guys, make sure and thank Joker Quinn or anybody else gifting members today. We are on a bit of a tear right now with viewership. If you're just tuning in or I'm on some kind of a rotator somewhere on YouTube, thank you so much for being here. We greatly appreciate the support. We are discussing why I think the information about Starfield's review info is so exciting, mainly because they're giving people, from where I sit, an ample amount of time to play the game. That was always my concern, was, are we going to get ample amount of time with the game? Are people going to have ample amount of time to spend playing and reviewing the game. Now, the only question I have right now is who got codes, right? It's obvious what's going to happen if you give a bunch of codes to outlets that love Xbox. I'm not even throwing shade. That's just where we are right now. That's the reality. If you send a PlayStation review code to Push Square, okay, they're going to give it a good score more than likely. Okay? That's just the facts. There are platforms that lean heavy in one direction. That's just the reality of where we are right now. That's a reality of gaming journalism, if you even want to call it that. I think we're completely misusing the word journalism. Most of these are content creators in disguise, right? They're content creators that write instead of make videos. And there's nothing wrong with that. But we need to be honest about the fact that there's not much of a difference between a YouTuber who leans heavy for Xbox or PlayStation and an outlet that leans heavy Xbox or PlayStation. They're farming ad revenue. They're farming clicks. They're not out here being, journalists. They're not doing investigative, fact-finding journalism. And that's fine. We just have to admit that that's what's going on, so that way we can look at everything, with eyes wide open, okay? That's why I want to see a wide variety of outlets. Now, outside of YouTubers, who are you guys thinking what would convince you? Are there certain outlets? Because I think of like Eurogamer and PC Gamer and Game Informer, and I'm like, okay, I know Game Informer and IGN, sometimes I feel like they're a little gentle to Xbox, but I definitely think that if you give them to like a Eurogamer or a PC Gamer, I feel like their reviews and stuff I find to be more reliable. Maybe I'm wrong. I don't know. Who do you guys look to? I try to always grab like a wide breadth of reviews. I feel like Games Radar and The Gamer, I feel like their stuff's usually pretty good. Game Rant seems to be very consistently against Starfield. They seem to be sort of negatively framing a lot of the Starfield press. Game Rant, I think I've used them a handful of times in my monologues. I don't necessarily think that they're bad. I just think there are certainly there are outlets who are very much against this game. I would trust Leopard, ACG. Game Informer is a shell of what it once was. If Ryan or Destin are doing the IGN review of Starfield, it'll get a 9.5 or a 10. Certainly, IGN has different writers, but yes, Ryan and Destin have very strong leans towards Xbox. I don't even think they try to hide that anymore. And everybody has a lean, at least own it, right? I mean, I lean PlayStation, so what? Like, some of that's in response to mostly disappointment. Like, I'm disappointed in Xbox. That's mainly where the lean comes from. I only use you, Lono. Well, I appreciate that. There are absolutely no media outlets that I trust. I feel like every site is for sale. My feeling is that the game media needs a reset. Gaming journalists and gaming has lost its way. I just think we need to have frank conversations about the fact that there are no gaming journalists. They're content creators. They're not doing anything differently than YouTubers. They're not. They're having their own biases, their own slants, their own POVs. They're not reporting facts. They get early access to things. They act as PR mouthpieces for the developers. They don't tell. That's the thing I don't like about some of the press outlets is they don't tell you when they're getting information early, and I think that they should. It's no different than saying, "Hey, I got a code for this game." Information is currency these days, and if you're not out here saying, "Oh yeah, I got all this information directly from the developer, directly from the publisher," well, then you're not being transparent about the relationship that you have with them, and I think it makes you suspect. I never want to not have my relationship with the developer or publisher be known. If I get sent a code, if I get sent information, I will always say, "Yep, I got a DM from the guy at Diablo 4. Yep, I got this code. Yep, I got this game early," because you need to know that. You should know when I'm covering something. And hopefully I won some trust with some of y'all. Atlas Fallen, they sent me a code, but my review was pretty critical. It landed around a 7 for me, right? I just think that the press outlets should have to say that. I don't think they're being Do you read the comments or just YouTube ones? I try to read both. Wired Rope says Jason Schreier, Easy Allies are reputable, and a few others are content creators that are beholden to their patrons and not the companies. A stipulation for PlayStation is review copy provided by PlayStation. I'm talking just information, though. Even if it's just a press release. Hey, I put this article together, in large part due to early access press release that I got from the developer. I need to know that you have that relationship with the developer. Do you want to know why? It will shade how you cover the information. It will. If you have an active relationship, there are people right now who have an active and ongoing relationship with Bungie, and you should know that, and you don't, because they don't tell you. It's kept from you. They're not the only ones. There are press outlets who have an active and ongoing relationship with Activision for Call of Duty coverage, and you should know that. Anytime news hits, anytime the press outlets are getting all this stuff early, you should know, you should be told ahead of time. Yep, yeah, I wrote this article in large part because of a press release that I got from Activision, earlier this week. Okay, thank you for telling me that you have an established relationship with the publisher who owns the game that you're covering. Like, that's just having transparency and integrity. That's letting somebody know where the information's truly coming from. This is why gaming media needs a reset. It used to be that content creators and fans did the platform war thing, but journalists acted as the objective, non-interested party. Now they are right in the thick of the platform nonsense. Well, because they can make money doing it. They can make money doing it. That's what corrupts it. Matt Piscatella reporting that results indicate that toxic gaming communities negatively impact the bottom line. To improve the business we have to fire our worst customers that are driving others away. Just because they are vocal doesn't mean they must be retained. Oh yeah, get them out of the servers. Like, get them out. Ban them. They hurt your bottom line. Like, imagine being that reprehensible that you actually hurt a company's bottom line. Your sheer presence in multiplayer lobbies and the way that you talk. Like, I can't believe people are upset about that. Let's be real. A considerable part of the marketing cycle is under this kind of cover, says Yeeshis Online. It's the natural progression of corporation influence. Creature says, relationships matter. Imagine if Lono gave Creature a bad review. He'd have a rough few weeks. It's like, yeah, that guy's lazy. He's not doing what I need him to do. He's like, oh, I'm lazy now. Okay, I'll give you lazy. And suddenly, I don't have anything. I don't have thumbnails. My videos aren't ready. He's like, I'll give you lazy. Oh, you think our game's crap, huh? Okay. All right. Oh, you think this decision's reckless and bad, huh? Oh, okay, fine. Well, no more press coverage for you. No more early press outlets for you. Guys, we're 42 minutes into the broadcast. Make sure you're smashing the like button. If you want to talk in my chat, it's totally free to subscribe. Hit subscribe. That way, you can let me know what you think about this situation with the review thing. I don't know if you guys saw it on Twitter. I covered it in the show open. Basically, the review codes for Starfield are going out sometime later this week, according to Tom Henderson. So that could be, he said it about, 36 hours ago. So that could be today, tomorrow, or the weekend, which gives them approximately 2 weeks to play the game before early access. It's roughly 2.5 weeks before the actual game launch. If they get the codes today, that's almost 3 weeks before the full launch of the game. That is actually a very good window of time. I'm telling you, it's making me feel better. It's making me feel better. I'm still worried about performance, but I'm like, well, you got to be pretty confident in your game if you're going to let people play it that far in advance. Now, on the flip side, somebody might say, hey, look, that there's no way you could review the game without that amount of time. The size of the game necessitates the window. The window doesn't speak to the quality, it speaks to the size of the game. that might be fair pushback. I'm not trying to hype the game up and be super positivity right now. I'm just saying I was encouraged when I saw this. Nova Hands with 21 months of membership. Hey everyone, this is the best live stream on YouTube. I'm obligated to disclose that Lono sends me $100 a month for a completely unrelated reason. Yeah, I'm in a real bad spot if I'm spending you guys $100 a month to say nice things about me. I'm in the red. I'm in the red. Hey Lono, have you had a chance to try the Texas Chainsaw Massacre game, or is it something that does not interest you? It didn't really interest me. Yeah, that's not really my kind of game. They don't want reviews, they want praise. They'll take it under the guise of a review, but it's not like they're inviting schmoes like you and I to opine. Well, I mean, I certainly said this in my show open. I don't expect to get early access to this game. I'm not big enough, right? I'm not big enough. I applied on Keymailer and they declined. Now, I don't think they declined me because of my size. I think they declined me because of my coverage. I've been very critical of Xbox. But I think when you're larger, they'll overlook that. If, let's say you have 100,000 subscribers and you've been pretty critical of Xbox, you can still get codes because they're like, their reach is good enough to justify sending them a code. When you're smaller, they're like, no, we're not getting anything out of this. Right? It's a business decision. I don't take it personal. I don't. It's a business decision. They look at the size of my channel and they say, you're not a big enough YouTuber. We're not sending you a code. You know, you've been pretty critical. So, no. If you have 100,000 subscribers, they say, well, that really helps out with top-of-mind marketing, and that puts us in the algorithm a little bit stronger in search funnels. This person's got a lot of reach. We're getting something out of it. So I don't take any offense to that at all. I think that's totally normal. I think that's totally normal. Once you're of a certain size, you kind of can write your own ticket, right? Now again, I heard through the grapevine that Skill Up was told no, which is, to me, that's concerning. It's like, well, he's pretty big. You know, I was actually really hoping he would get a review copy. Hopefully that changes. Hopefully what I'm hearing through the grapevine is not true, right? Hopefully it's not true. Hopefully he guys like him get a code, because I trust his reviews. How does it feel to being turned down because of your size and reach? Well, it's never happened before, right? It's never happened before. I make up for those things. Bradster says, got to go, unfortunately, Lono. Glad I was able to finally make it to a stream. We'll try and get here live if I can. Time zone sucks. No worries, Bradster. Thanks for stopping by, man. Appreciate it. Wonder if Matty Plays got one. Oh, I'm sure he did. Matty Plays channel's doing great. You know, he's big Bethesda guy, big Xbox guy. Certainly he's getting one. Yeah. He, like I said, I defended him after the Redfall stuff. I think that they're owed an explanation for what they played at the capture event. I've never felt like Matty is... I don't think he reaches shill status. I think he has preferences and a lean, and that's completely and totally fine. I think the reason you can go to him for Bethesda coverage is because of his history with the games and with the franchises. I think that makes him reliable in this specific situation with Starfield more than anything, right? From where I sit, anytime I've watched his stuff, he was not kind about situations in the past where he felt like they stepped wrong, right? He wasn't. He was critical of things that they've done in the past. He was critical of things that Arcane had done. He was critical of Fallout 76. So it's like, if you're wanting somebody that's got a good history with Bethesda, you acknowledge the lean, you acknowledge the bias. There's nothing wrong with that, and then you take from it what you can. Now, you don't just watch him and say, well, that's the end of the matter, but you would watch him and then maybe also watch somebody else who maybe is a little bit more critical, maybe is a little bit more of a, like when I play the game that day early access and over the weekend, you're going to come to me to be like, all right, what do you think? You tend to be more critical. You tend to be more of a, you got to prove it to me kind of a guy. That, to me, I think is the way that you approach this as a gamer, is you try to grab a broad spectrum of coverage. And when you grab that broad spectrum of coverage, you can then sort of come to your own deductions before the game comes out. You watch a guy like Maddie, who's big Bethesda guy. You watch maybe somebody like me who's more critical. You could go to some of the press outlets like PC Gamer or Eurogamer that I feel like are a little bit more in the middle. They're not necessarily leaning Xbox or leaning away. They're just like, they just kind of tend to cover things. At least that's been my experience with their coverage of games. I think you do that, I think you can get a really, really good picture of the game. So the fact that review codes for Starfield are going out this week, I think we should celebrate that as long as it goes to a wide array of outlets. I will immediately have red flags going up if this thing is very, very much contained to a small group of people. I'm not really sure what's going on. We suddenly have over 1,000 people here. We are on some kind of a rotator or something on YouTube. If you've never been here before, welcome on in. Name of the channel is Reforge Gaming. I do a daily talk show like this. It is safe for work. Many people throw me on in the background of their day. It's like a gaming podcast. Make sure you hit subscribe. Then you can talk in my chat. You can chime in. You can get reminded of when I go live. I cover all sorts of different gaming topics. Yesterday we covered PlayStation. The day before we covered we had an Avowed upload. We had the coverage of the Forza situation with its launch. We cover a wide breadth of topics. Consider pressing the like button as well. It helps out the video if you're enjoying the show. Hitting the like button tells YouTube that, hey, this is a good video and you're enjoying it. Is it a red flag if PC review codes are going out and not X or S? Yeah. Oh, that's a really good question, Dave. Yeah, that's a red flag in one regard. The red flag would be, okay, we will have no idea what the state of the game is on Series X and S if all of the review codes are PC. No shade. That's just a factual statement. If they only send out PC codes, I'll be like, well, I'll say the same thing when Hellblade 2 comes out. I'm a huge Hellblade fan. It's one of my all-time favorite games. Hellblade's like number 1 or number 2 for me. Brother, if they only send out PC codes for Hellblade 2, I'll say the same thing. I'll be like, I don't know, man. That's a little concerning. Doe Devas with 20 months of members. Thank you so much, Doe Devas. Cowboy King of Entertainment in the house says, Lono, the extra people are here to listen to you speak with the Cowboy. Oh, man. Good to see you, Cowboy. Yo, Doe Devas! This guy, every month I feel like you've done this. Doe Devas renews his membership and then says, I'm going to pay it forward and get more people in here. He does a 10 gifted member bomb. Somebody tag team with this man and drop a 10 bomb and blast past 25 over into the Agent of Chaos of 26. Thank you so much, Doe Devas. If you guys just got a gifted member from Doe Devas, make sure and say thank you. Consider paying it forward. You can gift one member to another person as a way of saying thanks to Doe Devas and start a little pay it forward train. Are there red flags with not going gold? Okay, let's talk about this, because this thing I think is getting a little bit blown out of proportion, okay? Yes, we never got a Redfall Goes Gold announcement, okay? And we know how that turned out. Yes, Bethesda does in fact announce when their games go gold, so stop saying that. Well, Bethesda never announces when their games go gold. Stop it. That's not true. Stop it. They do, okay? However, I'm not taking it as a sign of concern. Pete Hines took to Twitter to put this thing to bed. He's like, listen, we got a talented team. Just trust us. We know what we're doing, all right? Pete Hines kind of shut that down, and I like Pete Hines, okay? I do. I don't think going gold is an announcement that you make for a game that has been delayed this many times. I just don't think you do. I think it just adds insults to injury. I think the common theme going forward is if a game has been delayed multiple times, they're not going to be like, hey guys, we are so excited to tell you our game is going gold. Shut up! Shut up! We don't care. Like, that's what the public's going to say. We don't care. We don't care. I always think of that, the Stephen A. Smith. We don't care. We don't care. Great. You know, Pete Hines likes you back too. I really do like him. I would actually absolutely love to interview him. I really enjoy him. I think he has good presence and good candor. I like him. I think he's one of the good guys in the industry, right? Yo, another gifted member from DK Bager, always poking that line and bumping it a little bit higher. Thank you so much, DK Bager. But that's my take on it. I don't think going gold matters when your game has been delayed twice. Yeah, we can't make November, first half of next year. We're not going to make first half of next year. It's going to land in September. Hey, we went gold. Who the frick cares? Just get the game ready. Do you know what I'm saying? Do you get what I'm saying? Like, I just don't think going gold is a problem. Is like a sign of concern. I know people are running with that. Astro Candy with 23 months in a VIP. D Dizzle jumps on the single train with DK Bager and bumps the gifted member line to 18. Thank you so much. Pete Hines is the kind of guy you want in your corner. He's been a rock at Bethesda. Yeah, I like him. I hope he stays at Bethesda. I don't know. Those emails he sent, he doesn't seem too happy. He doesn't seem too happy with Microsoft, okay? I'll just say it. He doesn't seem very happy with Microsoft. Bethesda had no say in the matter. ZeniMax is the parent company, and they got purchased. So, I hope he stays there. Eugene says, I said this earlier, you're worried about a Redfall. I think the biggest likelihood is a Cyberpunk. Yeah, Eugene says, we haven't seen Series X footage, much less Series S. Cyberpunk flashbacks all over. What do you guys think of this? What do you think of what Eugene is saying here? Are we potentially staring down the barrel of Cyberpunk? And I think what he means is it'll run better on PC and it'll run really, really poorly on the consoles, right? Madam Lono is thirsty again. What you talking about? Lono, where do you recommend getting the game on? Steam or the Xbox launcher? I'm new to PC gaming. Steam. The Xbox launcher is booty cheeks. If you have PC Game Pass, then don't buy the game. Try it out and see if you like it. My personal contention is that if you like this game, buy it. Go and buy it on Steam. Support Bethesda in that way. I don't know if it supports them or not. I don't know how it works. They're owned by Microsoft, okay, but that's more ideological. Like, I'm not going to try to defend that logically or pragmatically. That's more of an ideological position that I have. Bad reviews for Starfield on Xbox get you banned, says F the Cat. Cyberpunk ran better on Stadia. I hope we don't have loads of reviews in progress from big outlets. If they get the review codes this week, we don't need in-progress reviews. They had plenty of time to play the game. If they play, I think on average, a lot of these guys play, let's just say they play for 5 hours a day. That's 70 hours. That's 70 hours in a game where the campaign's only supposed to take you about 30 to 40. So if you're a YouTuber, you're a press guy, and this is your job, and you plug away 5 hours a day for the next 2 weeks, that's 70 hours, man. I don't want to hear in progress. That's plenty of time to tell me, how's it work? How do the guns feel? How's customization? How are the skills? How is space travel? How is performance? Right? I'm gonna be honest with you. When the reviews come out, that's what I'm looking for. I'm going to be scrolling through performance. Did they talk about performance? How's it performing? How's it running? What did you play it on? Did you play it on a PC? Did you play it on a Series X? What did you play it on? How did it run? The RPG systems are wonderful. Yeah, I assumed that. It's Bethesda. The depth and the customization is great. I assumed that. It's Bethesda. I want to know how it runs. We've seen PC footage up to now, and some of the footage drops below 30 FPS. Well, okay, that's concerning. That's concerning. Is it optimized? Does it run well? I mean, we know there's loading screens. We know there's frame rate issues. Yeah, did you guys get that stuff polished out beforehand? Obviously, the loading screens, I took issue with the loading screens in Atlas Fallen. next gen only title and I'm dying and I have a lengthy loading screen? Like, what are we doing here? Like, that shouldn't be happening on any SSD, let alone my magical PlayStation 5 SSD. I'm just trying to trigger people. You'll be playing the game when the reviews come out. The embargo is 100% on early access day launch. Yeah, I spoke to that, Cliffo. If anybody takes issue with that, I just think you need to just calm for a second and consider that you don't have to pre-order for early access. You can wake up on September the 4th. You can wake up on September the 1st, pour yourself a cup of Reforge roast, and sit yourself down and read and watch as many reviews as you can handle. And if you're convinced it's worth it, then you can pre-order or buy or pay for the premium edition and start playing. You can literally wait and then look at the reviews. No one's making you pre-order for early access. It's the premium edition that comes with early access. So you don't have to spend a dime. You can get up on September the 1st and read and watch as many Starfield reviews as you can stomach. And then make your decision. And you can play all throughout the weekend if you get convinced. If it sounds choppy, if it sounds a little rough, save your money and just wait. And, maybe you already have Game Pass. Just play it on Game Pass 5 days later. September the 4th. Speak to me more of this new holiday. 80% of the players will, though, because of FOMO, fear of missing out. That's how they get gamers. They know exactly what they're doing. Well, let me ask you something, Cliffo. Do you think if people are primarily playing, you said 80%, if you think the vast majority of players are going to dive in early access because they're fear of missing out, let's say the review embargo drops the day before, would any of those people be persuaded to still not dive in day one? According to your own reasoning, they're just afraid of missing out. So the reviews, in my mind, would have to be abysmal to change that reality. I'm talking specifically to the customer base and consumer type that you're speaking to. They're in no matter what day one, bro. FOMO. Okay. If the review embargo dropped the day before, would it make a difference? I'm genuinely asking. Do you honestly think... New subscriber enjoying the content. Thank you. I appreciate that. Do you think that would be enough to dissuade people? Enough of the reviews are likely going to be good. They're not. I don't see this thing getting ripped to shreds. I don't, especially if they only send out PC codes. I think Eugene might be right. I think where a lot of the criticism is potentially going to land is going to be it doesn't run well on the Xbox. That's going to be the concern, is that. And that's not a problem with the Xbox. I think that's a problem with developers. I think developers tend to put too much into their games and bloat them up. You've really got to consider that Starfield's been in production for how long, and then go look at their system recommendations for PC. They're recommending video cards that didn't exist when development of this game started. That sounds like scope creep to me. You're exceeding the power of PCs that didn't exist when you started building this game. What? Like, you see what I'm saying? That's why I'm concerned about how it's going to run on the Xbox, is that I believe maybe they went too hard. That's with the embargo a day before. It won't be. You know how this industry works. Embargoes, in my opinion, should always be no less than 24 to 48 hours before launch, including early access. I don't agree with the last part, Cliffo. I don't agree with you. I think that if this embargo lands on September the 1st, that's 5 days before the official launch. I think that's plenty of time. Anybody who, on their own and of their own volition, bought premium to get in 5 days early and couldn't be bothered to wait for reviews, I don't care about that consumer. They inflict their own pain and problems by being that way. They're not my concern. They're not. But if you try to obfuscate reviews and hide things, and people can't get a look at your game until like the day the game launches, then I have a problem with that. If I can get reviews 24 to 48 hours before the game comes out, I'm totally fine. Now, it's a real sign of confidence when, like, God of War Ragnarok embargo was like 6 days before the release of the game, and there was no early access. So you had like a week. You had a week to be like, wow, the reviews are insane for this game, which we should expect nothing less from Santa Monica. Come on. Come on. They deliver excellence. The reviews were glowing from virtually every outlet. And they gave you a week to read them. I don't think it's fair to count early access. There's room for disagreement there, because you could say, from the negative side, you could say, well, they're getting everybody's money ahead of time, and then the review outlets come out on early access day, and then what if the game's bad? I'll tell you what you can do. You've still pre-ordered the game and it hasn't released yet, and you can get a refund. That's why I don't find it concerning. If the reviews drop for this game on the 1st and you've pre-ordered it, go cancel your pre-order. If the reviews drop and you're like, oh my gosh, it's terrible, it's a disaster, and Todd Howard's resigned, like, you know, if the insane happens, go cancel your pre-order. You're still within the window of consumer protection. I think that's a very fair position to take. I don't think I'm being a corporate shill or a fanboy. I think that's a very fair take to say, if the review embargo drops on the first day of early access, because, well, now the public can see the game, so why not? And the reviews are bad, well, then cancel your pre-order. It's that simple. You're not locked in. Self-inflicted, pain as a consumer, that's your own fault. If you're out here buying games for early access and not waiting for reviews, and you keep getting burned, well, I don't know. How many times are you going to touch a stove before you stop? Steam refunds are the GOAT. That's a separate subject, but I will always be one to champion. There should be a refund process right through the storefront. If I buy something from Amazon and I don't like it, I go right through the storefront and I can get a refund. If I buy a video game and I play for 45 minutes and I'm like, this is a pile of garbage, I should be able to go push a button and get my money back. I do not feel that consumers are appropriately protected on the PlayStation or Xbox ecosystems or storefronts. I think as consumers we should fight for that. Steam treats us right. All hail Gabbin, right? But Xbox and PlayStation, I don't feel either platform treats us right. They don't. They do not treat us as consumers. Consumers are to be protected from buying something that doesn't work by being able to return it. And people should have been able to refund Jedi Survivor or Cyberpunk without having to jump through hoops. I shouldn't have to go through a website or send an email or get on the phone. Nope. It should be right through the storefront. This is where I bought it. This is where I'm going to return it. Imagine going to the store, you buy something, you get it home, and half the features don't work. Oh, we're going to add that later. Just plug your toaster into an Ethernet cord, and we got a firmware update coming later. We'll stop burning your bagels. F you. I'm taking this right back to Target. And if Target was like, oh, no, you can't return it here. I mean, I know you bought it here. You got to go home and fill out a form. You got to fill out a form. You got to get on a phone. I'd be like, excuse me? I'm not doing any of that. You're returning it here. This is where I bought it. The point of purchase is right here. I fully support that on consoles. We should be granted those protections as consumers, especially with the growth of gaming, the profitability of gaming, the price of gaming increasing. I believe that's an impetus for consumer protection. So, I don't know if we'll ever see that happen. That would have to be done at a governmental level. They would have to say, consumers are not properly protected. And I think that there's just too many lobbyists that would probably try to shut that down. Microsoft doesn't want you to be able to do that. That's not good for them. It isn't good for them. They already struggle in the sales department anyway, right? They're always the lowest man on the totem pole when it comes to percentage of day one, week one sales of a game. The last thing they want is you to be able to return the dadgum game. That's the crazy part. All this time and games get released in a couple of weeks and no console footage. Big red flag. Yeah, I mean, today is a positive stream. I think that the review info is a good sign. But I do think there are still those lingering concerns that are 100% legitimate. That's not hate. It's not attacking them. It's not being an Xbox hater or a console tribalism. I think it's totally fine to say, look, man, we've not seen footage on the Series X. We have not seen footage on the Series S. Are the review codes going out PC only? You know, we'll know real soon. That clock's ticking, boys. That game is almost here. We will know very soon. We will know very soon. I can see a future. I'm not trying to be a hater here. I can see a future where the game launches and 48 hours later there's a blog post, right? We understand that the way this game is performing on the Series X and the Series S is below our standards. We'll do better. We'll do better. We're committed to improving the performance of this game over time. Like, I'm not saying it's going to happen, but if that happens, that doesn't sound like a far stretch in reality right now. With the way games have been launching and the way things have been happening, that wouldn't surprise me at all. You know, it's sitting on Steam with an 84%. People are generally happy with it on Steam, you know. And then on console, they're like apologizing to us. You could be hopeful. I'm both, Peter. Like I'm a human being with mixed emotions. Like, I'm not a robot. I don't exist on some false binary of like, I'm either hopeful or concerned. I can't be both. Well, no, I can be both. I'm extremely hopeful for this game. At the end of my monologue, I said, I see this as being another watershed moment for Bethesda. I think this is a game we're going to talk about for years. But I also have lots of lingering concerns about performance. The way they've talked about the game, the way they've showcased the game, they've shown us PC footage that has performance issues in it. If that's track with me here. When you put footage out to the public, that's your best foot forward, is it not? You get the best footage, you get the most pristine looks of the game. And you're giving us footage that drops below 30 FPS, and it's on a PC. So that's concerning. None of that takes away from what I think Starfield's going to be in the history of games. In the history of gaming, I think we're looking at another Skyrim moment. I think 5 years from now, there'll be stuff happening in Starfield, and people will be talking about Starfield. 100%. I think that. But I also think their footage, it's like, okay, that's a little bit concerning. This is supposed to be your absolute best footage, and you got frames dropping into the 20s, and this is footage on a PC. Now, we know... What's good, Ginger? We know that games lately can run poorly everywhere. We've had game launches this year and last year that just ran bad everywhere. Plague Tale Requiem, Gotham Knights, Jedi Survivor, they ran bad everywhere. You're talking about a game that was showcased on a live stream that has issues. I don't think you had any drop in frame rates. They said they had it running at perfect 30 frames. No, that's not true. No, the footage has been analyzed. There's a handful of spots where the frame rate drops, homie. I'm not talking about a stream. I'm talking about actual uploads of the footage. I'm not talking about when I watched the live stream. It wasn't a live stream, by the way. It was a premiere, which means it was an uploaded video, which means you can go back and raise the resolution and get a rock-solid viewing of the content. It wasn't a live stream that was constrained by bitrate. and the compression of YouTube. It wasn't a live stream that was potentially constrained by the lack of where if you can actually use a computer and you can use the what's it called? Oh frick! I just lost my train of thought. Not my train of thought. What's the word that you use in OBS? I can't think of the dadgum word. Encoding. Golly goodness. I'm getting old. It wasn't an encoding issue. It wasn't like, oh, they didn't have OBS set right and there's some bitrate issues. No, it was a premiere, meaning they uploaded the footage, meaning you can watch it raw. You're not reliant upon bitrate or encoding. Sorry, my brain locked up on me. Hang on. Somebody asked me I think Ted asked me a question. Lono, do you expect lots of review bombs? I hate that people do this. Yes, I spoke to this. I said that I don't think the Metacritic user scores will be reliable at all. It's just going to be a bunch of fighting. Right here. Here, conveniently. So this is the spot. This is the spot. This is one of the spots. There's a handful of spots. This is one of the spots where the frame rate drops. That footage has been analyzed and it drops into the 20s. Which for a shooter, that's a little concerning. Shooting a gun and having some muzzle flare causes frame drops. I'm going to be doing that pretty regularly. So you know. Lono, do you think the fact that in console the game only does 30 should affect the Metacritic score? Or should it be an ignore for the scoring? I think it factors in. Right? I think it factors in for a couple of reasons. Number one, player preference is a part of the review. It is. It's my preference to have performance mode. We don't have that. Sorry. Okay, well, I mean, I got to take points off for that. That's it. It's 2023. I think that's a fair expectation. You're not giving me that. I'm gonna take some points off for that. In that category, right? If you break the game into categories, RPG systems, 9 out of 10. Content loop, 9 out of 10. Right? Graphics, 9 out of 10. Performance, 6 out of 10. Performance isn't good. I'm not saying that it's not good. I'm saying you could have a review that looks like that. You could say, these areas of the game are 8s and 9s out of 10s, but performance, no. 30 FPS, it doesn't even hold 30. It drops below 30. No. It's 2023. What are we talking about? You're talking about old gen performance at that point. You're well within your right as a reviewer to take points off for that. I think that's fair. I would expect the exact same dadgum thing for anything landing on PlayStation. You want to know what my score for Final Fantasy 16 is? It's an 8. Because of what they did with performance and the expectations that they set for it. In all other categories, I give it full marks. But in performance and the interviews and the expectations that they set, oh no. That game would be a 9 if they delivered what I expected on the performance front. I take a whole point off. I'm like, no. This is not what I was promised. Now, the cinematics and the big fights and the story, oh buddy, it's crazy. But when I'm like walking around a town or exploring, it looks terrible. I'm like, I didn't buy a PS5 for this. I feel like I'm being sent back in time. I do. I take a whole point off. Final Fantasy 16 is a 9 out of 10 game. I give it an 8 because they promised something that I didn't get. They did interviews and they set expectations about this is going to show off the power of the PS5. Well, I got news for you. Inconsistent frame rate when walking around a non-open world game? No. That's not excusable. What are we even talking about? It's not even an open world game. Final Fantasy 16 is a good action game. Calling it an RPG is an insult to the genre. I think gatekeeping game categories and genres is foolish because there can be games that it's an action RPG. It has elements of RPGs in it, even though it's not Baldur's Gate 3 and dice rolling. Should reviewers follow up on a review as things change? Yeah, I do. I think a bunch of reviewers should go drop their scores of Jedi Survivor. Clip it, chat. When people say that Lono plays favorites, I disagree. I feel he hits both sides. I've always hit both sides with the bat. They just won't clip those things because it's not conducive to running a false narrative about me. They won't talk about my upload about the Last of Us port to PC being an embarrassment and lacking transparency and ownership. They won't talk about that. Lono just made the point I've been making for the last year, says Ginger. What point is that? Lono, Starfield's 4 times bigger than a normal AAA game. Can you overlook some drops? No. No. I don't care. That doesn't justify bad performance. A drop here and there, I would overlook that, brother. I would. I think I was playing... What game was I playing recently that did that? Was it Remnant 2? I think I was playing Remnant 2, and there was like a little frame stutter at one point. I don't care about that. A little frame stutter or frame drop because there's like 8 things happening at once. Dude, I'll overlook that 100%. If you drop your game to 30 FPS and you can't even maintain that, no, homie, I don't accept that at all. There's plenty of things that you could have done. There's so many things that can be done to help optimize a game to give you consistent frames per second. And I'm not talking about a little hitch here and there. We've seen numerous hitches and stutters in the Starfield footage. While I disagree with your assessment of the Series S as a focus topic, the point I've been making is if you pull back and look at this gen of consoles, I feel they aren't delivering on the promise. I don't agree with that at all. I don't agree with that at all. If I look at the Demon's Souls remake, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, if I look at the director's cuts of Ghost of Tsushima and Death Stranding, if I look at the Burning Shores DLC, nope. Disagree. PlayStation 5's been delivering left and right. They've been delivering left and right. You want to run to the performance mode of Final Fantasy 16 to make your case, I feel like that's a significant cherry pick. I can list a litany of games and modes and performance and graphics that are like, this is what I expected from this gen. The very reason that I can judge Final Fantasy 16, I judge it against the backdrop of all those PlayStation 5 games and say, what are you doing? These guys did it. Your examples of Final Fantasy 16 and Starfield are my counterpoints. I don't think Starfield is a counterpoint because we don't even know how it runs on PC yet. I think you're jumping ahead of yourself here. I think you're jumping ahead of yourself, Ginger, because, listen... Number one, Starfield's not indicative of anything because it's not out yet. We have no idea what they did with this game and its performance. And Starfield's performance is not an indictment of this generation of console. It's not. It isn't. We know how strong the Series X is, and we know what the Series X can do. Starfield does not indict the Series X. I don't agree with that. And I certainly don't agree that one mode in Final Fantasy 16 indicts the PS5. The PS5 has been delivering left and right with their next-gen games. One mode in Final Fantasy 16 where, if you actually research this, they chose to use an older version of FSR and they're not turning on dynamic resolution outside of combat. That's a choice they made. That's not an indictment of the console. It was a choice the developers made. You have to diagnose what's happening. You can't just jump to the conclusion of, well, Final Fantasy 16 doesn't maintain 60 frames per second out of combat. Yeah, that was a design choice they made. PS5 exclusives are piss poor. What exclusives are you talking about? All the ones I listed have scored very well and perform great and look great. Demon's Souls Remake, Ratchet and Clank Rift Apart, Returnal, Horizon Forbidden West, God of War Ragnarok, Horizon Forbidden West Burning Shores has been praised as one of the best-looking pieces of content on the PS5. What games are you talking about, Ginger? What are you talking about? They've been crushing it this gen. Like, what exclusives from PlayStation 5s are piss poor? What are you talking about? What games have been scoring low, reviewing low, performing low to be described as piss poor? That's a strong judgment. And they only run on PS5? Those very games? So how does that substantiate your point that this gen of console isn't delivering? You're not substantiating your point. You've just changed the subject now. So a minute ago, we were talking about how this generation of console is not delivering. You don't feel they're delivering on what they promised. I outline all the titles that are proving that they are, and you're saying, oh, but they're only locked to PlayStation 5. Exclusives are piss poor, not their score. I completely disagree with you. I think the fact that they're exclusives is one of the reasons that they run and look as good as they are. As an engineer, you should know this. As an engineer, you should know this. All developer commentary on this very subject has said time and time again, when we develop for one system, we can do way more. It's way more efficient. So what you're saying is demonstrably false. We get better games, better performance, better overall quality from exclusives. Ideologically, being against exclusives is not facts-based. It's not data-based. It's not even based on the anecdotal evidence of developers that have commentated on this. It's purely an a priori position that you've come up with from an ideological position that, no, exclusives are bad. Why? Can you argue it from a development standpoint? No. Can you argue it from a pragmatic standpoint of quality? No. Can you argue it by demonstrating that the games aren't any good? No. I can demonstrate handedly that multiplats consistently land lower in quality this generation than first-party exclusives. You will never win that fight. Multiplats are down real bad. They run bad. They're not optimized. They're not ready. Why? Because you're building for multiple systems. And eventually they're like, we just got to ship the game. The project's taking too long. Are we here for a Starfield talk? This is a Starfield talk. Starfield's an exclusives, is it not? Locking games to platforms like Final Fantasy 16 is a piss poor move. Talk to Xbox. Talk to Yoshida. Do some research on that. They shopped that game. They looked for offers. Has nothing to do with Sony. Square Enix knows they have a valuable product, and they shopped that product, and Xbox came in with a lower offer. They went where they were going to make the most money. Why? It's their property. They have every right to make the most profit. You can defend it all you want, but thankfully things are changing. They most certainly are not changing. I believe that timed exclusives and exclusives will actually increase in the next couple of years, not decrease. The reason multiplats are running like crap is because they all rely on DLSS and FSR. It was never this bad prior to those software releases. Well, track with me, Cliffo. Track with me. The reason that devs are relying on DLSS and FSR, what do you think the reason is? If you could come up with like the quickest reason you could for that, what would be the reason? I think the reason, the most quickest summary would be they're trying to do more in the games. And FSR and DLSS helps with that. Right? It helps with that. You guys like it when Ginger and I go back and forth? I do too, because he's very polar opposite on some subjects from me. So, if they're trying to do more, right? Get Cliffo a badge. Yeah, could we get some gifted members going here? Come on, this has been a great discussion and a great topic. If they're trying to do more, like a great example is Starfield. Starfield gameplay, they're clearly trying to do a ton with the game. Okay? Well, what's that tend to do? It tends to drive performance down. DLSS and FSR kind of come in and try and save the day, right? Alex with the $5 super chat says, if Microsoft moves a publisher-only position, wouldn't that be potentially bad for competition and us potentially seeing a drop in quality? It depends. I do think that if they went publisher, there's elements of that would be bad for the market. Because I said that yesterday, but I do think it's fair to push back on that and say, well, don't you want competition? My comeback would be, if the third place position company went publisher and we ended up getting better quality games as a result, because you have to make great games at that point because you're entering into a buy-to-play market. I think between PC, PlayStation, and Nintendo, we would still have enough players in the market to not suddenly say, oh, there's no competition. Do you understand what I'm saying? I don't necessarily think it's the best scenario. I don't like the idea of suddenly losing a player in the market. I don't. But I also kind of like the idea of Microsoft throwing their pocketbook behind developers because they have so much money. And if they would get rid of their 18-month contractual policy, because if they were just publishing games instead of like dictating and owning studios, that would change the relationship. I think we would get better games as a result. Like, imagine a Halo Infinite properly funded, not having to deal with the 18-month contractual issue and like losing half the studio every 18 months, according to people that worked there. Imagine how better that game would have been. It's not on Xbox anymore. It's like everywhere, right? Or maybe it would have been a PC launch first and came to PlayStation later. We're talking about a completely hypothetical fantasy land, but I don't necessarily think that there's a great situation here in either way. I don't think Microsoft continue to be a poorly performing third-place contender where their games come out like Redfall and Forza Motorsport, delayed and missing features. Like, if that's the continued trend with Xbox, get the frick out of the industry and spend your money on something else. You're not bringing good things to the market, right? You're wasting studio talent at that point. Do you understand what I'm saying? So, like, but I also think that that's not great when you have a competitor leave. We just switched ingest servers. That's going to be a blip, and then there's going to be a follow-up blip. We haven't had that happen in a really long time. Every once in a while, YouTube makes me switch ingest servers. So you may have to refresh. Audio may get desynced. People in chat, make sure and tell people if they're dealing with blips or audio just to refresh. There's always like a follow-up blip later when that happens. We just switched ingest servers is all that happened. You comparing Redfall to Forza? No. I made my point very clear if you listen carefully instead of grind a false narrative acts like you do very regularly, Andre. I said we're going to end up with games like Redfall and Forza delayed and launching with missing features. Those are true statements about both games. Redfall was delayed and then launched missing features. Forza Motorsport was delayed and it's launching with missing features. Misrepresenting what I said just makes you look dishonest. It doesn't actually do anything to me. They score Zelda in the high 90s and offers nothing new. That's not true at all. Tears of the Kingdom had tons of new things and innovation and creative systems. Tears of the Kingdom deserved the scores that it got. They'll penalize Starfield and FPS. Well, again, if people are going to try to make that argument, what time is Q&A? Oh, that's an OG homie right there. If people try to claim, oh, well, if they take off points for Starfield for frames per second, well, they didn't do it with Zelda, that's a false equivalency. Starfield has gone gold. Preload begins tomorrow. Did they announce gone gold, or did they say preload begins? Those aren't the same thing, by the way. If they announce gone gold, great. Everybody can chill the frick out. I already addressed that earlier. I don't think going gold matters, but yeah, they announced it. Bethesda Game Studios tweeted it and said, Starfield has gone gold. Preload begins tomorrow. There you go. Everybody can calm down now. All right? I'm on record earlier in this broadcast. I said, I don't think that matters. I don't think that matters. Everybody was freaking out about it. I was like, everybody chill the frick out. This doesn't matter. Going gold does not matter for a game that's been delayed twice. Frames are still frames. No. Let me give you an example. I am far more critical of Final Fantasy XVI's issues with frames in performance mode than I was of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. I love both games, but I'm way more critical of Final Fantasy XVI. Why do you think that is? You know, put on your thinking cap. Why do you think I'm more critical of Final Fantasy XVI's issue with frames than I was of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom. It's a real head scratcher, but I think you could figure it out. Because the PlayStation 5 is 3 years old instead of 6. It's not a portable device, and it promised me great performance. Zelda's running on a portable dadgum calculator, okay? I was never promised high-level performance from the Switch. Do you see? So if I'm critical of performance of the issues in Starfield with frames, I think that's fair. You were when? Earlier in this stream, you dolt. Alex Witter with the 10 gifted members. Thank you so much. Bumps the line all the way to 28. He's the agent of chaos. Multiple streams, Andre, I have expressed strong displeasure and frustration with the frames issues in Final Fantasy 16. I've never once given them a pass on it. The day we broke it down and we watched Digital Foundry, we didn't watch Digital Foundry's video. The day I broke down Digital Foundry video, I was critical of it. I was like, why wouldn't you just use dynamic resolution? That if I choose performance mode, I want frames. Why would you not give me that? Why would you not give me dynamic resolution? At every turn, every time Final Fantasy 16 has come up, I've made sure to mention the fact that, like, in light of the marketing of Final Fantasy 16 and the interviews about it, I'm very critical of that game's performance. Very. And I take them to task way more than I did Zelda. But I'm a Sony pony, and I never am critical of Sony. No, you just are dishonest. People that are dishonest and misrepresent my content, they just lack integrity and character. All they do is self-report that they're liars. Like, if you watch my content, I'm consistent on these issues regardless of where the game lands. I was very critical of Horizon Forbidden West combat. Very critical of the combat. Thought it was too spammy. I was laying on the ground all the time. I was getting stun locked. It was annoying. I didn't feel that they took the combat where I wanted it to go. Now, they fixed some of those issues with her laying on the dadgum ground. I remember you saying 30 FPS gave you splitting headaches. I've never said splitting headaches. Now you're just making things up. It gives me headaches, which is why I was confused when I saw you playing Tears of the Kingdom at 30. Yes, and I've talked about this many, many times. You also are typically in here running false narratives about me. I said that Tears of the Kingdom was tolerable because it was an enjoyable game, it was fun, and the graphical fidelity of the game kind of hid some of those issues. But then I also said the minute I started playing other games at 60, I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom. I know that's an inconvenient reality to your false narrative because it's a fact and liars ignore facts. But on multiple occasions, I have stated I stopped playing Tears of the Kingdom because I started helping my little buddy boy out in Cana Bridge of Spirits, and I started helping my daughter out in Hi-Fi Rush, and I was like, I can't go back to Zelda. It like hurts my head. So yes, I didn't spend much time in Tears of the Kingdom, and yes, I've been extremely critical of Final Fantasy XVI's performance mode. I know right now you're experiencing pain in your brain because what I'm saying doesn't line up with who you've determined that I am. It's like reality damaging for you. It's like paradigm breaking that you're like, well, the guy that I've decided is some Sony pony Xbox hater is actually being consistent. I'm not used to that. Like, We've been through this so many times before. So I'm well within my right to play Starfield and say, there's performance issues. It doesn't even maintain 30, and I find that to be troubling. I will take points off for that. Now, if I run it on my PC and I have performance issues, I'm going to say the same thing. Because if you launch a game in 2023 and it doesn't run well, I'm going to get out the bat. I did that with Jedi Survivor. I don't care who made the game. I don't care who launched it, who published it. That doesn't matter to me. I'm not sitting there playing Final Fantasy 16 and being like, well, it's Sony, so I guess I can double the frames somehow. Yeah, we got you back in here, Cliffo. The reason I'm defending against this is because I'm already anticipating A bunch of you clip-sniping liars acting like if I'm critical of Starfield's performance, I'm somehow contradicting myself. I have been brutally and ruthlessly consistent in these categories. I don't care who makes the game. It doesn't matter to me. Whether it's Jedi Survivor or Final Fantasy 16 or Starfield, my expectations are my own. And if they're not met, it's going to be a form of criticism in light of that. And I think my expectations are very reasonable for 2023. 60 frames per second? Really? Is that unreasonable given all the marketing of this generation? Go back and watch the marketing for Project Scarlet and the Xbox Series X. Go back and watch what we were promised. I don't think expecting 60 frames per second is unreasonable at all. Now, if I was sitting here saying I expect native 4K games at 60 FPS, well, then certainly I think you could make an objective point that my expectations are not in line with reality. Like, your expectations are set by reality as well as the developers and the publishers. Now, this is one of the reasons why I have said Starfield is going to experience a higher level of scrutiny and a higher level of expectations, and a lot of it I don't think is warranted or fair. They won't clip that and put that on Twitter, but I think that's going to be a common problem with Starfield. I believe it will be judged against the backdrop of, oh, it's got to save Xbox. It's got to turn things around for Xbox. It's against the backdrop of like the monolithic RPGs of the past where we look at Morrowind and Skyrim and the Fallout franchise and we think that this game better absolutely deliver excellence. Like, to a certain degree, I think Starfield's got a lot working against it. And I think that's why if it pulls off an 8.5 or a 9, like across the board from most outlets, I will say that's a win. That's a huge win for Starfield because I think it's got a lot working against it right now. Notice how it's always that console exclusives are bad. They never say a word about the avalanche of games on PC that never hit consoles. Right, because if you try to take that tact and that argument, Eugene, you end up looking incredibly stupid. Was it wrong that Death's Door hit Steam first? Two-person studio. Death's Door, 100,000 sales, crushes it week 1 on Steam. And because of their roaring success, they end up landing on other platforms later. It was on PS Plus recently. It was on Xbox Game Pass, I think, at one point. Buy Death's Door. It's a fantastic game, all right? They deserve your support. Those guys crushed it. Well, apparently what they did was what did Ginger say? Piss poor? Was that piss poor that they did that? What about the monsoon of games that are only available on PC? Why do you think they do that? Why? Could you come up with a reason? Do you think that they hate consoles? Do you think they're PC elitists? Do you think they're PC master race, scumbags? Or maybe, just maybe, we're talking about businesses. And businesses are not beholden to your ideology. They're beholden to good business decisions, profit, margins, production costs. They're beholden to that. They're not beholden to your weird, concocted ideologies. Well, I think exclusives are terrible. Okay. Tell that to every other industry in existence. I can't believe that Disney invests all this money in their first-party shows. I can't believe Amazon Prime and Netflix invest all this money in all their, first-party shows. HBO Max. I can't believe they do that. I can't believe they invest money and do market research to therefore recoup that cost and generate profit by having something that's winsome enough to make you be a patron of their platform. I can't believe they do that. It's poison, it's piss poor, it's bad. You wouldn't say that about any other industry. Why? Because you'd look silly. What do you think the quality would be of shows if they gave them half the budget because they were going to put it everywhere instead of recouping the costs on their own platform? How good do you think The Last of Us TV show would have been? If they would have been like, well, no, we got to put it everywhere. We don't want to do anything exclusive. We don't want to hurt anybody's fee-fees about, I can't play the game. How good of a show do you think you would have got? can't believe Nintendo's been delivering first-party excellence for 40 years instead of putting their products everywhere and having to get Mario to not just run on the Switch, but to run on PCs and to run on Xbox and to run on PlayStation. Yes, I'm cooking you because it's a silly position. It doesn't make sense. Anybody who thinks that deserves to be cooked. You're not lined up with any business realities in any other sector in existence. Every other company does this. They invest money in their own stuff. Why? Because they want to make money. I wish Mario Kart was on consoles and PCs. I would love that, brother. Homie. I will say every day of the week, I would have loved to have been able to install Tears of the Kingdom on my PC or PlayStation 5. Well, you can with an emulator. Shh, I'm not talking about that. I would have loved to have gone to a storefront and bought Tears of the Kingdom on a PlayStation 5 or on my PC. Why? Because I would have loved to get the better performance. But I'm not going to say, well, that's piss poor. They shouldn't do that. Why? Well, because the market realities of doing that would be detrimental. Demand for their console wouldn't be as strong. Length of the project would be doubled. The recouping cost would be under threat. Their margins wouldn't be as good. Their dominance wouldn't be as strong. What are they supposed to do? Weaken their own property, product, and margins so that you can play the game on your favorite platform? Get over yourself. Get over yourself. Consoles don't exist without exclusives. Yeah, what's the driver? What are you going to go to a console for without exclusives? Well, I can play this game everywhere. Okay. So all that R&D into, ray tracing and memory and processors and SSDs and all this stuff that they research to give you really, really good experiences, and then they have to recoup all of that by getting you to buy the dadgum box. All that goes out the window if you're like, yeah, but I think games should be everywhere. Kevin Brady with a member plus. Thank you so much. Kevin moves the line without waiting for a gifted, and he does a member plus. Thank you for doing that, Kevin. Consider the recent film Oppenheimer was shot in 30 FPS. What makes the film amazing is the resolution of the cameras. A cinematic game like Starfield is the same. No, I don't agree with that at all. Number one, they've never defended Starfield by saying, oh, it's a cinematic experience. It's a first-person shooter. Okay? Do you honestly think the footage that they've shown of this guy zipping around and shooting... Tell me, is this sequence cinematic, what we're about to watch? Right? Is this cinematic, or does this look like a first-person shooter with zippy, quick combat and jumping around, sliding around, ducking and covering? Does this look cinematic to you? This looks like a first-person shooter to me, with agility, verticality. What are you talking about? This doesn't look like some slow-paced cinematic. It looks like a good I'll say it. It looks like a good first-person shooter. It's a third-person shooter for me. Yeah, some people will probably say in third person. It's a preference thing. Now, any other first-person shooter on the market right now, even third person too, even Fortnite. They got it to run at 60 on the old-gen consoles. Why? Because they valued that consistency in the game and that smoothness, that fluidity. So you can't defend this game and say, it's okay that it's 30 because it's cinematic. What are you talking about? What does that even mean? Yo, Stone Spire. Uh-oh. Stone Spire's in the building, and he just set up a 20-bomb layup. I swear, if you lay this up to yourself, Stone, don't you do it. Let somebody else. I'm waiting for the mod that makes Starfield turn-based. Oh. Dark Ascension got that gifted membership. You love to see it. Nintendo's trying to copyright game mechanics. That's a big no-no in my book. What game mechanics are they trying to copyright? I would probably be against that as well. What exactly are they trying to copyright, though? Gilly says a little. It's an FPS. It can be cinematic, too. Those light rays on the trees are unreal. Cinematic doesn't always mean slow-paced. Ula Tech says, Ula Tech takes the layup and says no, and he makes it a 31. Thank you, Ula Tech. And a 5 from GNS. Yes. A little train. They said, we don't need these guys coming and stealing all the thunder with the big bombs. We can do this with smaller ones. That's exactly right. Another one from Alex, and he bumps it to 37. A little gifted member train out of nowhere. Thank you guys so much. If you've enjoyed the banter, the back and forth, I get passionate, I get wound up. I'm not angry at anybody. I love the clash of opinions. I think it's exciting. I think it's entertaining. If you think it's entertaining, hit subscribe so you don't miss my shows. Hit the like button. It's free to hit like. It's free to hit subscribe. It supports the video and it supports my channel. You're more likely to get a gifted member if you do those things. Thank you so much to all of the new subscribers today. Holy moly. Big day of new subscribers. If you're one of the new subscribers, make sure and hit that bell button. I do a live talk show like this every day about gaming. We covered PlayStation's cloud stuff yesterday. The day before that, we covered Forza Motorsport. We also do uploads. I have an upload coming later today about Assassin's Creed Mirage. I told you so. I'm going to be right about that game. So thank you guys so much for being here. Make sure and hit the bell button. I'm also safe for work. You'll notice I've not been swearing. You can throw me on in the background of your day in the office or at home and treat me like a video game podcast Monday through Friday. Thanks so much for being here. Love the banter. If I'm wrong, cook me. The exclusive debate, we're trying to come up with segments on the channel where I might actually debate other content creators and stuff. And I've already said that I would like to do that. I know that, oh no, it's Alex has that position. He thinks that games should launch on every platform. And I obviously don't agree. So I think that would be an entertaining back and forth. I personally don't think Starfield at 30 is bad, says Joker. I myself prefer graphics and fidelity over frames. You know what's funny, Joker, is this doesn't make me wrong because it's a preference, but I actually think I'm in the minority within the general gaming public. I think most people just boot up and play on quality. One of the reasons for that is the game's default is typically quality. Not every game asks you before you boot up the game which you want. Now, that doesn't make me wrong. If I'm the minority, so be it. So the issue, though, is that if everybody's just running it at quality, that's likely why they said, we don't need to push for 60. Most people aren't going to notice. You know what I mean? What's your preferred gaming platform? The PS5. Yeah. It was the Xbox for a really long time. And even when I got a PS4 Pro to play Spider-Man and God of War, I used an Xbox controller. I just preferred Xbox for a very long time. And this generation, that changed in the last 3 years because there just wasn't anything for me to play on Xbox. Well, there's tons of games on Game Pass. Yeah, I know. I've been on that ecosystem since the 360. I don't want to play any of those games. I wanted new, really strong next-gen games, and I got them on the PS5, and I didn't get them on the Xbox. So, and I would love for that to change. I would love to be torn between the two systems. I would. That would be an amazing feeling. Like right now, when I boot up my PlayStation 5, I love feeling like, what should I play? Should I keep working on Final Fantasy 16, or should I try to do another run in Synapse? Should I play a little bit more Remnant 2? I love that feeling. I love feeling torn between good things. I think that's a good feeling. And I just haven't felt that for Xbox this generation. I think that's fair. I don't think that's an unfair conclusion to come to. It's not hate. I went where the games were. That's all I did. And the idea that, I'm a Sony pony is just so laughable in light of my history as a gamer. It is truly laughable. Yeah, Remnant 2 is a really good game. You guys should definitely check that one out. Very, very enjoyable game. Guys, let's shoot for 500 likes. If you've not pressed the like button yet, man, over 900 people here. We've been holding a very, very strong view count. Thank you so much for doing that. We greatly appreciate the support. We will be We'll be going to an Assassin's Creed premiere in about 45 minutes. It's a premiere about AC Mirage, and I am excited for that game, but I'm going to take a pretty strong opinion on it. And I want to see what you guys think. So that will be later today. We're going to set this as a premiere for today at 12:15, so that way people get the notification for it. That seems to have been helping a little bit. So today at 12:15, and that's going to be fine. We'll come in under 3. And then we do a members-only debrief after that. So if you got a gifted membership today, if you've ever considered doing a membership on YouTube, it's $5 a month, and you get into all my extra content, daily extra streams every day at the end of the day, and then a Friday night stream with my wife that's usually very entertaining. Just this last week, we typically hang out and talk with you guys for a couple of hours, and then we play a game, and we played Keep Talking and Nobody Explodes on my Pico. It's a VR, it's an all-in-one VR device that you can actually hook up to the PC. That was really fun. That was a good stream. There was some good reminiscing and emotions in that stream as well. And if you guys order coffee, the coffee alert is on. It should pop up on the screen. GTA 5 was 30 FPS and was so far ahead of its time to a point it never had graphics. So as long as it's smooth, it'll be fine. Listen, and NBA, if that's your position, I am actually jealous. I mean that. I'm not saying that in like a smarmy, smug way. The people that are like, I don't mind 30 FPS or 30 FPS is fine by me. Listen, I am genuinely jealous of you. I wish that I could play Final Fantasy 16 on quality mode and enjoy every second of it. I can't. Because if you play Final Fantasy 16 on quality mode, you don't have any issues at all. The only issues are literally when you're playing performance mode. I wish I were like you. I do. I can't do it. I can't change my brain. I can't rewire the neurons and the stuff going on with my eyes that I feel like my eyes are straining when it's at 30. There was a very long time when I played Destiny on console, and I was like, I don't know what everybody's talking about. I think it looks totally fine. I spent a month playing Destiny 2 on PC. I had to go back to Destiny on console for a raid or a hard mode or something, and it was painful. It was painful. And then when I played God of War 2018 and Spider-Man on my PlayStation 4 Pro, I would end every play session with a headache. Like I could feel like right in here on the sides. Very minor headache. So I'm genuinely jealous. It's like, dude, I wish I were like you. I wish I could boot up all these games and say, doesn't bother me at all. I would be playing Tears of the Kingdom. I would have never taken Final Fantasy off of quality mode. I just kept it there. I'm never going to tell you you're wrong. I'm just telling you there's plenty of us currently that are like, no way. No way. Can't do it. $20 super chat tip from Super Googly. If Starfield's actually good and Baldur's Gate 3 holds up, it will be a tragedy for Tears of the Kingdom to get Game of the Year still. I agree with you. I don't think Tears of the Kingdom stands a chance. I think Baldur's Gate's running away with it. It's not even a contest anymore in my mind. The scores are too high. The critical, commercial, and consumer acclaim is just too high. That game is pulling MMO numbers. Its second weekend, it had almost 900,000 concurrent. Are you kidding me? Like, that's insane. It's pulling MMO numbers. It's not an MMO. It's not an MMO. Like, it's not even a contest, bro. It's over. 60 FPS on an OLED looks bad to me because the transitions are so fast. You lose a bit of blurring between frames. You get on an LCD. If you find OLED choppy, it's the actual millisecond transition times. I've actually never played on an OLED. I've never played on an OLED. All right, that's scheduled. Spider-Man 2, T-Lu 3, any of those titles were 30 FPS, I would skip them too. More games are going to drop. Game of the year can't be locked. I've been covering games for 8 years, and what's happening with Baldur's Gate 3 is it's unusual, and I think unlikely for other games to check all of those boxes. I think it would be quite unusual for another game to check all those boxes. Commercial and critical acclaim at this scale is very, very much... It's very, very unlikely to happen again this year. Starfield, Spider-Man 2, Armored Core, and Lords of the Fallen are probably our biggest... those are probably our biggest games left this year. And I would say that it's just really unlikely that those games do what this game's doing. Pretty sure his TV is an OLED. Oh, wait, is the Samsung you guys sent me an OLED? I am super not tech guy. Hogwarts did it? No, it didn't. Hogwarts didn't have this level of critical acclaim. That's not true. Its scores are not even close to Baldur's Gate 3. Mario Wonder? No. Mario Wonder will not outdo Baldur's Gate 3. Baldur's Gate 3 checks too many boxes. It's doing something to a genre that I just think it's uniquely special. I really do. I think it's really, really hard to unseat it. I do. I think Super Mario Wonder could potentially check some of those boxes, like, hey, the classic Mario side-scroller, has been brought forward. I think it's a QLED. It is a QLED. That's right. I just had to reboot it last night to install HBO Max, which is now just Max. Why they drop HBO, I don't know. But I couldn't get the Max app to install. It made me delete the old HBO Max app, and I had to install the new one. So I rebooted it. It is a QLED. Yeah, it's a quantum dot QLED. That's exactly what it is. So, we had to install HBO Max last night so we could watch the first episode of Last of Us. Oh, I was thrilled every second, every square inch. I was like, that's how that happened. That's how that happened. Oh, that's perfect. That's exactly how that's supposed to happen, right? Oh, that's a difference. That's a change. Oh my gosh, I was loving it. I was so pleased. I'm so pleased. Very, very happy with the first episode. HBO has its own tab now? Huh. It's an LCD with an added layer that makes color really pop, but you do have a lot of local dimming zones, so you get a lot of the inky true blacks that you get on an OLED. Do you think Spider-Man 2 will come out anytime soon? Oh, I'm sorry, Stalker 2. No, Stalker 2 will not come out this year. I do not think so. Yeah, I do not think so. Could we get 30 more likes on the video, guys? Take a second if you've been lurking this morning and loving the show, man. Just click that little thumbs up button. It really does help out. Give that little thing a press-a-rooney. We've got about 30 minutes left in the show. If you guys want to keep pushing the member goal, keep hitting really, really high likes. I want to talk about something that kind of came up in my opening monologue about this, right? So let me give you a bit of a recap. So about 36 hours ago, 2 days ago or so, there was a bit of a dust-up on Twitter about the Starfield review codes. There was an outlet right here, Games Inquirer, said review keys go out on the 1st of September, and Jez Corden obviously immediately was like, this is false, okay? He's like, this isn't true. Right. Yo, Ragnarok gifts a member, pushing it closer to a nice 40 layup for somebody to slam it home with 10. Thank you so much, Ragnarok. So, Tom Henderson, notable insider. I don't even call him a leaker anymore. He's an insider. He gets inside information, right? He's credible. He chimed in this discussion and said they're going out later this week. So sometime this week, the press and YouTubers will have their hands on Starfield. Yo, Rinsler gives some membership. Thank you so much, guys, for doing that. I love the appreciation. I try to do these recaps for you. Joker Quinn gives some membership. It's a single gifted train. Keep it going, guys. Hit that $ button at the bottom of the chat. You can gift one member. It's $5, and it pays it forward. It helps somebody else get into the extra content. So, paying it for... We just switched servers again. I don't know what is happening. This has not happened in a long time. There's going to be blips and follow-up blips. You will have to refresh. Thank you, Catwalk, for the gifted member. I don't know what YouTube's doing today. We haven't had this issue in a really long time. They must be doing something because the ingest servers are not happy today. So you'll have to refresh. Audio will... And I have switched to the backup ingest servers. So that'll be a longer blip. I am really sorry. I don't have any control over this. As far as I can tell, my internet is totally fine. As far as I can tell, it's not on my end. I have a strong connection. I have a consistent bit rate. So I have switched to their backup ingest servers. We'll see if that doesn't resolve the issue. I am sorry you guys are having this issue. I'm at the mercy of YouTube some days. So, okay. Let's see if we can't actually successfully get through this recap. I am really sorry. Guys, do me a favor. We get really, really punished by YouTube when that happens. So make sure, smash the like button, gift some members. It can kind of help us bounce back because YouTube's going to interpret this as like, oh, the video's doing poorly, people left or whatever, and it's not. It's that the ingest servers are acting up. Okay. So, as I was saying, there was a dust-up on Twitter. The result of that dust-up was that the review codes are going out this week, okay? I thought I lost you. I was so scared. Thank you, Darth Biscuit. So my contention has been that this is great news that the press is going to have the game this early. It's basically being speculated that the review embargo will be September the 1st. September the 1st being the early access day. That's the earliest the public can play the game. That's when the reviews will drop. Now, some people have said, well, it should be earlier than that because they're already getting people's money. You can wake up on September the 1st, and if this is the case, if that's the review embargo date, you can watch every review, read every review you want, and have a very good indication of whether or not you should pay for the premium edition, because the premium edition is how you get in early. If you've pre-ordered the game and September the 1st rolls around and you think the scores are bad or the reviews are bad, you can cancel your pre-order. You're actually still protected in that window. So I don't have any issue with that being the review embargo date. My only lingering concern is the number of outlets that get access. I will be obviously, I think, a little concerned if it's like a select group of really Xbox positive platforms or Xbox centric YouTubers, podcasts, whatever. If a bunch of outlets and YouTubers are left out in the cold, that will be concerning to me, because that will say, okay, you're kind of trying to do that damage control thing. You're going to people that you know are going to be nice and give you good scores. I have said my own Metacritic prediction. I believe this game will land in the high 80s. I think that that's totally fine. I think a game of this scope, a game that's undergoing this much scrutiny and with expectations that are, I think, unfairly too high from some people, I think if it gets a high 80, that's fine. That's a good score. That's an excellent score. If it's 90 or higher, I think that's really strong. I also am on record as saying the Metacritic user score is a waste of time. That doesn't prove anything. I believe that people will be slamming the game needlessly there. There'll be a lot of console warring on the Metacritic user scores. I think that's going to be a waste of time. I think Steam user scores will be more indicative of the game's quality. It needs a 95. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with the people saying they need this to be at like a 95. I remember when Xbox era was saying that, like, if people don't give this thing, you know, a 9 or a 9.5, they're automatically, you know, they're bashing it or they're lowering their score. Whatever it was that they said, it was utter nonsense. It was like an 8 or a 9 is a good score. Just because people don't give this thing a 9.5 or a 10 doesn't mean they're lowering the score arbitrarily or on purpose. Like, I don't think it needs a 95. I don't think it lands on a 95. If this game gets a 95 from a wide breadth of outlets, not just a handful of pro Xbox outlets, if it gets a 95, that's insane. I just think that's extremely hard to do, right? That is, okay, just as an example, God of War Ragnarok was like universally praised by the media and the press and the outlets, and it got a 94, okay? Ragnarok was described as, you know, excellence and high quality. It was getting 9s and 10s from people, and even it got a 94 on Metacritic. I don't think you're going to see Starfield land that high. I think it's incredibly difficult. If it lands between 90 and like 92, I will be surprised and then even more excited to play it. I think it lands in the high 80s. I think 88, 87 to 89 is where this thing lands. That's my personal prediction. That's not me hating. I'm saying that's kind of where I hope it lands, because that to me is indicative of a very, very strong launch. That's a very strong launch for Starfield. A game of this scope and size, I think there's so many opportunities for people to have a bad experience or be disappointed or be frustrated or not have a good time. I also think there's issues with I think there's people that are going to be far more scrutinous of this. Is that a word, by the way? I said that yesterday. Scrutinous. Yeah, scrutinous is a word. I actually really like that word. I think people are going to be far more scrutinous of this game than other games. I think it's going to be undergoing a higher level of scrutiny and judgment. I think some people's expectations are way, way high, and that's going to make it very difficult to get a 95, right? You know, you want this to fail? Stop the BS. I don't want it to fail. I have 50 live streams about this game. I've been covering it for a very long time. I have 8 uploads about this game. Virtually all of my Starfield coverage has been positive. During the Starfield Direct and after, I said if they can nail performance, this game could win Game of the Year. Obviously, when I heard the 30 FPS news, I was very disappointed as somebody who doesn't like 30 FPS. But during the showcase, I said we could be looking at Game of the Year. Like, this thing's going to be potentially tectonic. You know, I've continued to say it could be a Skyrim moment for Bethesda, a sort of, you know, memorable moment that we look back on and say that was another big moment for Bethesda. Even today, I've said I think people are going to be talking about Starfield like 5 years from now. You know, I think the PlayStation haters will move, the PlayStation guys and the Xbox haters, they'll move on. You know, they'll go play some Spider-Man and they'll stop bashing, you know, Starfield. You know, to the point that I've even said ignore the Metacritic user scores. If I wanted this thing to fail, then I wouldn't be saying things like that. I just wouldn't. I doubt Starfield is a 75. That's pretty low. Yeah, I don't think that. I think it's landing in the high 80s. I think landing in the high 80s is a great score. That's such a good score for a game like this. Imagine sucking off Xbox so much you can't hear words in real time. Like, as great as I think Final Fantasy 16 is, it has an 87 on Metacritic. I think that's a great score. I do. I think that's great. A high 80 is a good score. I'm being consistent. Final Fantasy 16 has an 87. If Starfield lands in that hemisphere of score, I think that is cause for celebration. That is a very strong score. In fact, I would say an 87 or an 88 for Starfield is stronger than Final Fantasy 16's 87. I would say that's stronger because I think it's going to be harder for Starfield to get that score. You do this to PlayStation and you crap on Xbox, stop the good guy act. I think you're in your feelings. I think you're an extended adolescent little child that has a really hard time interacting with people in a mature way, and you're not old enough to ride this ride. You still can't watch rated R movies, man. You're too young in your mind to hang out here. So you're banned because you lack the ability to engage here like a mature person. People have debated me all morning, and not one of them has been banned. You've been banned for your own lack of moral fiber and intelligence. So take that and apply that. Better yourself. Be a better person, right? Be more adult in life. You know, you'll probably meet somebody nice and not be so lonely and angry on the internet. You don't hate him, you hate your dad. Lono forgives you. Yes, I'm telling you, man. All these men in their 30s, just daddy issues, bro. Daddy issues. You got to sort yourself out, man. Grab a hold of your life. What are you doing? Give that kid a bar? They're not worth it. It's like, man, you could live a better life and be happier. Goodness gracious. Once a year ban appeals. Yeah, sadly, they don't have a system like that on YouTube. I would actually like that because I would like to give people a second chance sometimes. Like, I almost went on a mass unblock spree on Twitter because I thought, okay, enough time has passed. Maybe some of these people can act right. But then I thought, I'm going to end up unblocking people that are just toxic and terrible. And I don't want to do that, you know? How does this man dunk on a guy while sounding like David Attenborough documentary? Amazing. No such thing on YouTube, and I love it. Man, YouTube. Even on the backup ingest servers, bro. 11 minutes in. That was a really fast hop, though. That was a super fast hop. We disconnected and reconnected immediately. Bro, I am really sorry, guys. I'm really sorry. It could be content. I tell you how we would do it. If you could do ban appeals on YouTube, we would do it. You'd have to become a member. I'd be like, become a member and come to a members only stream and appeal your ban. I wouldn't do it as a public piece of content. You know what I mean? Yo, what's good, Detective Seeds? Welcome back. We still here? That was a quick one. That one shouldn't cause as many issues. It's the solar flares. Oh, are there actually solar flares causing issues? Yo, Detective Seeds comes in. He chimed in on the review thing on Twitter. He was kind of helping clarify some things. Saw you in the mix, man. Thank you so much for the 10 bomb. Yuta homie. Takes us past 50. I now owe you guys 10 members. We're on our way to 75. You guys have 20 minutes if you want to push it even further. Kind of tag team with Detective Seeds. Just something to think about when you're smart, man. Wouldn't want to see that happen to you. Short Kings face another injustice in Baldur's Gate 3. It stops them macking on their love interest properly. Oh, for Pete's sakes. Oh, no, you can make a simple form that they have to send it filled out to the appeals email that you make, and you can go over it on stream from time to time, free content. Yeah, but we don't really do that kind of content. We do gaming news coverage. That's like a Twitch meta thing, you know. Doing it in members, maybe for the members, they'd be like, "Hey, become a member, and you can watch me read through ban appeals." You know. My brother had my phone can only be used once during the appeal process. Free hate, that's what it is. Sorry, man, don't get to stop in as much with work. Enjoyed the monologue this morning. Wanted to show some support and re-up. I appreciate that, Detective Seeds. Thank you. I hope you guys have enjoyed today. We're still kind of cooking here for a little bit before we go to this Assassin's Creed Mirage premiere. It's going to go live in about 19 minutes. So thank you so much for the support. Sorry we're having some issues today with the ingest servers. Hopefully it can stable out. It can level out. I know it's not my internet, because if my internet's acting up, you'll have like a constant steady flow of dropped frames. When we disconnect and reconnect right away, that tends to be a sign of something on their end. Look, this looks crazy for a VIP Friday multiplay. They said this wasn't a horror game. Well, you guys have got to hit a big VIP number if you want Creature and I to play another game. We need to hit 350, and we've dropped below 300. So I know why Lono defends himself, but the constant barrage of mischaracterization is boring and childish. Well, generally what I've tried to do with the content is I've tried to make it really hard for that to work. We've had a lot of people recently become members here, and Borbs would be one who has become one of the top gifters, and he literally saw somebody, salting me up and mischaracterizing me in a video, and he came and checked out the content and liked it. So it's working against them. You can only attack somebody for so long who's not attacking back, and it just starts to fail. Like it starts to fold back on itself. It's like, this guy's not attacking anybody. He's not going out and being nasty or making it personal. He's just making content. And, if you like the conversations and you like the back and forth, heck, Ginger is a friend and a mod, and he today was in here just going back and forth with me about exclusivities and PlayStation 5 and all of that. And I think it made for a great discussion. So much so that we kind of got off track, but it was still a great discussion. And you can do that. You can come in and be like Ginger. You can be like super pro Game Pass. He thinks Game Pass is great. You can be super pro, games should be everywhere, no exclusives, right? You can do any of those things, and we can have, I think, great conversations. I think it leads to entertainment and enjoyment, and it doesn't need to be like toxic and destructive. That just doesn't. What's the point of that? I think you can only take that ship so far. You can only take the salty, hateful, ripping people up. I think you can only ride that train for so far. It's a very limited audience that wants to consume that on a regular basis, and the content starts to get repetitious. You start to basically create the same content over and over again. It sort of becomes static, and we get to just kind of not have to do that. Like I can talk about this thing with Starfield was exciting. It was like, oh, wow, this is a good sign, right? And then they go gold today. So this video is probably going to do great for the rest of today because it went gold. And everybody's going to come to YouTube and see a thumbnail that says, this is a good sign. That's such a serendipitous thing that happened. That's cool. And I don't think you have those experiences when you just deal in salt all the time. Ragnarok says, that's how I got here. I saw a video of you slamming something, and one of the top comments was defending you and saying to come check out The Real Take. Been subscribed ever since. See, there's another person. He's a member. He's gifting members and has been here regularly. I'm telling you, it starts to work backwards. The more you attack me, the more you make my content interesting to people who are looking for thoughtful conversation. That's my target audience. My target audience is not people that are going to be nasty and hate me and say things that aren't true about me. They're not my target audience, so I don't care if they don't watch. I got burned out on that kind of content super quick. I think it's funny in small doses. That's why I think, that's why, oh no, it's Alex just hit 50,000 subscribers, because I think it's a good balance over there. Once a week he roasts them up, and I think that's a good approach to it. You do it every dadgum day. Goodness gracious. This is off topic, but you're close to my age by 7 years. 20 years ago, yesterday, since Freddy vs. Jason, that film was fanboy fun. I was not into either of those franchises growing up, so I don't connect with you on that. Sorry. I was not into those kind of movies back then. So, all right, we got 15 minutes before we go to this Assassin's Creed Mirage premiere. I want to know what you guys think. What's your Metacritic prediction? We were just kind of talking Metacritic, and then we had that little blip. So I want you guys, make your own prediction. What score do you think, not the user score, the frickin' Metacritic user score doesn't matter. It's going to be a disaster. It's going to be a bunch of toxicity. What's the Metacritic score from all of the review outlets? Not a select few, like the game's out for a week. All the review outlets have had a time to weigh in. Where does Starfield's Metacritic score land? 91, 85, 87, 91, 91. I'm seeing a lot of 91s. So you think this thing's squeaking into the low 90s, okay? 78. Oh, Assassin's Creed 78. No. 93. You guys are answering for Assassin's Creed. I'm talking about Starfield. 88, 80 to 85, 85, 110, 86, 87, 89, 82, 75, 91. 88, 90, 83, 87, 83 low, 87 high, 93, 78, 87, 91, 90, 90, 90, 82, 86, 90, 92, 84, 86, 75. I sound like an auctioneer. We're all in a very similar hemisphere, it seems. Right? We're all in a similar hemisphere. We're all in the mid 80s to low 90s, it seems. We're kind of clustered there. Mid 80s to low 90s. Now, why do you think that is? When you pick your score, what's your reasoning? And do you think, like, let's say Detective Seeds, he's got 86. I said like 87, 88. That's my prediction. Why are you picking that score? And do you think it's a good score? Like, if you pick like a mid 80s, are you like, this is a bad score, good score? Where do you land on that? Like, yeah, I picked 85 because I think the game's going to suck. Or, no, I picked 85 because I think that's a solid score for this game. What's your reasoning for the score that you're giving it? That's what I'm interested in. Because I was seeing a lot of Metacritic score predictions on Twitter, and the reasoning was all a little bit silly. What platform? Ooh, that's an excellent question, Eugene. I'll take that action. I think it scores higher on PC on Metacritic. I do. Yeah, I think it scores better. I think the Xbox Metacritic will be a couple points lower. I think it'll be like 89, 90 PC maybe, and then like 86, 87 on Xbox. I think the Xbox Metacritic score will be, yeah, I think it'll be lower. I said 85, says Hilly, because the part of history that makes me think Starfield will be good, I believe Microsoft spent $7.5 billion to acquire ZeniMax Media for this game. They heard about it, and I think it was more than stopping the bleeding for timed exclusivity. They didn't want to lose games, yes, but losing a whale is different. I think that's why Bethesda were ticked. They wanted this game everywhere because they know. You think it's going to be PC 85, Xbox 88, Hilly? Really? 80 for a flagship game is a fail? Darth Ascension, are you saying 80-80? Like, are you saying if it's an 8-0, that's a fail? Or are you saying any score in the 80s is a flagship fail? Because Final Fantasy 16 has like an 87. I think that's a great score. Detective C says, I think there are going to be some bugs due to the engine they're still using. And if I'm going with console, I'll say 82 due to the 30 FPS for me. And PC, 86-ish for higher FPS. 91 because great game story choices, but poor multiplayer elements and some launch issues. Also, not that revolutionary. You don't think it's revolutionary? I actually think it's a pretty revolutionary game. I've not played it yet, but I think the concept is revolutionary. Let's get 4. Can we get 4 single gifteds? Make that say 55 and tempt the big guys. Come on, I just need 4. Lightly walk it to 55, okay? Just four singles. Come on. I think 80 is fine for a flagship. We also don't know if Xbox codes went out. That was the other question that we kind of had with the review outlets. I didn't include that in my monologue, and I wish I would have. What versions being sent out to the press? You know, Zubair says, the low FPS may self-select for players that aren't that demanding regarding performance. If I was on Xbox, also, I don't know if I'd play this game. 88's a solid score. I agree. I'm picking 94, says Eridimus, because they are showing a lot of confidence in their marketing and the 45-minute direct. I don't disagree with the second part of what you're saying, Eridimus, but I think there's too much against this game for it to land on a 94. I think there is bias against Bethesda. There's bias against Xbox. I think there's bias against games that are this large. I think people will naturally get a little frustrated or miffed if they have some issues, some bugs, or some hang-ups. So I actually think 94 is a really hard score to snag. And I'm not saying that that's fair. I just think that they've got a lot working against them. Solemn says 75 to 80 for Xbox. For me, based off of all the footage I've seen, the mechanics I've heard about, load screens, 30 FPS, and just general feeling I've gotten from the footage and commentary, not counting possible bugs. Keep in mind, guys, Solemn's pretty positive Xbox guy, and he's saying 75 to 80. How is Fallout in space groundbreaking and new? Well, you don't think that the ship itself, the construction of the ship, all the different compartments, the ship customization, the space travel, exploring planets, You don't think any of that's revolutionary to bring to the genre? JC's trying to help out. He's trying to help out. We need 4. Now we just need 3. We need 3 singles. Come on, y'all. Help out JC. Walk it to 55. Tempt one of these guys. Let's see if we can't get a 20 bomb at the buzzer. It's not that revolutionary due to No Man's Sky and Star Citizen. You said it yourself. It's Fallout in space. But I haven't said that that's all it is. When I say Fallout in space or Skyrim in space, I'm not being reductionist. I'm not saying that's all it is. And I don't think that No Man's Sky plays a role here, because I don't think No Man's Sky and this game set out to do the same thing at all. Giving me just the dialogue system alone. No, I don't agree. I do not agree. I think the dialogue system alone, the ship customization alone, coupled with and undergirded by the exploration, absolutely not. I don't think that you can say that this is just Fallout in space or Skyrim in space. The bones are there. You'd think this stream was focused on you or something. Oh, you weren't talking to me. I have said that before, though. I have said Fallout in space. How's the weapon crafting in No Man's Sky? Yeah, the weapon customization in No Man's Sky. The ship customization in No Man's Sky. It's like non-existent. That's not a thing that you do. You build and attach and connect. Come on. No Man's Sky doesn't even have a core story. It has 2 core stories. There's the story to get to the center, and then there's the Artemis story. But I would agree, that's not a particularly strong aspect of No Man's Sky. I don't agree. I actually, this is one of those times where I'm defending Starfield. I think Starfield's got a lot in its corner to be, historic and considered revolutionary. I do. I don't think it's fair to be like, well, they did these things in Skyrim and Fallout, and like, oh, that like takes points away. Catwalk's gonna help out. There it is, 54. Come on. One more single and then just hold and stop. One more single member and just hold. Just hold position. Fallout in space is just a baseline. There it is. Patrick did it. All right. Everybody hold. Hold. Let's see if one of the big boys takes the bait. Right? We're baiting. We're out here fishing for whales. We're baiting for whales to drop a 20 bomb. I got the double layup today. You did, Patrick. You did. No Man's Sky, you can build and customize your cars and bases. Starfield won't even have mobile vehicles on the planet. Right, but is it fair for me to turn around and say that? Is it fair for me to turn around and say that about No Man's Sky? You can't even customize the look of your ship and the shape of your ship. You can't even customize your weapons in No Man's Sky. Is it fair for me to do that? Just arbitrarily grab systems from one game and judge another game in light of it? Do you think that that's fair? I don't think that that's fair. I think that that's random. That's arbitrary. If you're being honest, it should be good. It's building off of decades of experience between Elder Scrolls and Fallout, and it borrows from the best of a bunch of older games. This is it, folks. 25 years in the making. Stealing sandwiches. How's that in No Man's Sky? Yeah, stealing sandwiches. You pile them up, you know? If the world is so large, though traversing may be annoying, I actually think the jetpack's going to make traversal just fine. I think it's going to be just fine. The traversal that I've seen looks good. Thank you for the gifted. Yeah, guys, we've had a great gifted day right now. We're at 55 out of 75. We're going to be going to a premiere about Assassin's Creed Mirage. I'm basically saying, I told you so. We're going there in 4 minutes. We got 4 minutes to bait a big boy to drop a 20 bomb. We'll see if it happens. I will spam the link in chat for this video. I will also redirect you to this video. So Make sure that you guys smash the like button on the stream that you're in right now. It'll help this video. Feel free to loop back to this video and leave a comment if you really enjoyed it. That also helps the video because YouTube will treat this no longer as a live stream, but as a VOD, like a video on demand. So if you guys have ever really enjoyed the talk shows, feel free to loop back, leave a comment. Make sure that we could easily hit 600 likes right now, so make sure you've done your due diligence there, supporting the video, supporting the channel, hit like. When we go over to this AC Mirage video, do the same. Just smash the heck out of the like button. I'm going to gift 10 members when we get over there. I may end up gifting 15 if we kind of blow the doors off quickly. I'm going to end the Kick stream. You guys watching on Kick, head on over to YouTube to support the AC Mirage video, as well as maybe the member stream if you're a member. That happens after. I'm stoked for all the Starfield builds that are going to be made from Skyrim and Fallout 4 build creators. It's going to be epic. I'm interested to see just how much we get with Star Wars and Star Trek and any of that stuff. DK Bager says, all right, guys, I guess we'll have to do it on our own. He bumps the line by 1 to 56. Thank you, DK Bager. Always so faithfully just smacking that button. Thank you very much, sir. We only need 30 more likes, too. If you guys have liked the show, man, make sure you're smashing that thumbs up. And Detective Seeds takes the bait. Detective Seeds, so generous, slams home a 20 bomb at the end, but he's also the agent of chaos. 76 means we roll forward to 100. I now owe you 15. I owe you 15. I told you, we can bait the big boys. We can bait the whales. They like to flex. So let them, let them flex. Good to see names I recognize getting members in the chat, like Slow Mobius. Good to see you. Hopefully you're here. Hopefully you guys enjoy this Assassin's Creed Mirage video. We're going to head to here in about 30 seconds. 23 more likes on the video would be beautiful. Do the same thing with my premieres, by the way. If you guys are here every day and you watch the live stream and then you watch the premiere, never forget to consider leaving a comment on the premiere. It's a traditional upload. It's just that we all go watch it together, right? Which we're going to do right now, okay? I'm going to spam a link in chat, and it's also going to redirect you. And when we get over there, I'm going to be gifting 15 members to the community. If you guys go crazy and do 24 more, I'll drop a 20 bomb over there, all right? Click the link in chat. Smash like here. Smash like over there on the new video. I'll see you guys over there. Thanks for all the support. And then we're going to hang out with members after the AC video.